Pregame show for real Miami football fans with Tobin and Solana, Omar and Beasley on AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome in, everybody, and good morning. It is game day, uncensored here on 560 WQAM. Brendan Tobin here with you, soon to be alongside my co-host Alejandro Solana. Dan Day here as well, producing for us today. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I had a good cup of coffee this morning. I don't know if I got a pep in my step. I don't know what it is. But I kind of got the goosies this morning. This feels like everything is on the line today, and I have a strange confidence with how this Dolphins team is playing, with how Tua is slinging it out there. And it's a tough matchup. This is a good Houston Texans team. This is not one I think the Dolphins are going to cakewalk through. But I do feel like, especially since it's not outdoors, there's something about me feeling about this team going on the road. I'm confident. I'm eerily confident, which sometimes will blow up in my face. But I feel like getting into this matchup today against a good Texans team, not a great team, that's going through and has some of its own injury issues, just like the Dolphins do. Doesn't feel like this is an overwhelming matchup. It feels like it's a winnable game, but also one that you can't, screw around with. Otherwise, you're going to be looking foolish out there. But I strangely have the goosies. I feel good about this matchup here today. And I feel like the Dolphins could do some good things against this Texans team on the road. I don't know where this confidence comes from. Maybe it's Zach Seiler being AFC Defensive Player of the Week. Maybe it's Tua going to chase down Drew Brees. Maybe it's, I don't know. But I just feel, maybe it's Jalen Waddle going back home to Houston. But there's something about, maybe it's Skylar Thompson no longer being on the active roster. But whatever it is, Solana, I have an odd sense of confidence going into this game. What say you?
I like it. Tobin. I genuinely do. I've convinced myself all week that the Texans aren't even really that good.
Well, all right, calm down.
No, I look at their schedule. I was on with Dan Day and Vlad yesterday, and everybody points to the fact that they beat the Bills, and I realize that. But let's talk about the fact that every other team outside of the Bills, Tobin, I know that's the team the Dolphins haven't been able to beat, but
True.
outside of the Bills, every team that has an above 500 record, they've lost to this year. This team has struggled. CJ Stroud, I shouldn't say he's regressed, but he definitely didn't take a huge sophomore leap this year. And if the Dolphins can control the run, and you're talking about Tua, 1 p.m. game in a dome, I think these conditions and this situation actually bodes well for the Dolphins. So, usually, December game against a above 500 team, a team on the road that you have to go play that's going to be in the playoffs, I would say, yeah, no chance. No chance they're going to win this game. But for some reason, I really feel confident going into today.
I do too. It's a weird thing. Dan, you'll be doing post-game. How is your confidence level going into today? Is it oddly confident? Do you not have confidence? Where are you at today before the Dolphins take the field at 1 p.m.?
I have that same confidence you guys have, but at the same time, every single time we do this,
I know.
We're gonna. This is the game. The Bills, second week. This is the game. We're gonna prove. We're gonna change the narrative. Green Bay, Thanksgiving. This is it. And then we get burned every time. So my confidence level is a little lower than your guys because I've been burned too many times.
He is spot on about that. He is spot on. And they were Devontae Adams knowing the rules from possibly, being in a meaningless game today. But they didn't. They came back. They had 2 huge drives. You got a huge return from Malik Washington. Tua, 2 huge drives on his part as a quarterback. And listen, I know that this is franchise-wise, this has been a team that oddly has owned the Dolphins. I think they're 8-3 in the season series or the lifetime series, which is weird. But I don't know, man. I think I don't know what the reason for it is. I think it's mostly it's a road game that has no elements to it, and I feel like that plays into the Dolphins' part. Even though there's a lot of things the Dolphins do well defensively, especially in their pass game, like that's the Texans' bag. That's what they're really good at. So I do think, Solana, some way, somehow, the Dolphins have to summon the powers of the universe. They got to get this damn run game going. They have to.
They have like, first of all, less than 100 yards in the last 2 games, but I think over the last 3 games, it's like 117 yards. I mean, it's embarrassing, man. By the way, you mentioned the history between these 2 franchises, 8-3, I believe you said. I was thinking about that the other day. Like when I think of the Dolphins playing in Houston, I think of like Matt Schaub running right down our throat with time expiring, beating us in the mid-aughts. I think of Arian Foster before he came to Miami and stunk it up and his knees no longer worked, and Adam Gase ended up going back to JHI. I think about Arian Foster just torching the Miami Dolphins. Like, for some reason, this Texans team has owned us, which is why everything Gameday said is true. This is when the team burns us. This is when the team lets us down the most. This is it right here. This is the game. We saw it against Green Bay, but Tobin, I feel it today. I really do. I feel good about today.
It's Phil Collins, dude. You feel it in the air tonight. It's just like I just something about this morning. I woke up like, I feel like I'm going to sit down on my couch and I'm going to be happy at 1 p.m. today. And I may look a fool because those 2 monsters that they have on pass rush, they could be running after. They could have Tua running for his life because they got 2 backup tackles essentially going today. I don't even know how healthy the guards are. Aaron Brewer, I know, is going to do his job, but he's just one man. He's just one man. I do like the fact that Patrick Paul's got the homecoming, so he'll be a little, maybe he's got the family in town. You're going to be excited to see the Cougar come home, but I don't know. For some reason, this feels like it's lining up. The rookie got his feet wet last week. We kind of knew. All right, Teron Armstead. It was inevitable. It was inevitable. So I feel good. And Tua's dealing right now. Let's be real about it. The kid is dealing. That was a great game by him last week.
Playing the best football maybe of his career right now. Just slinging it, playing smart, efficient, and Tobin, like, when he needs to be clutch, he's been clutch outside of like the most important
except for Thanksgiving. But
right, yeah.
But last week, clutch.
Yeah, man. Like, you couldn't lose that game. So I don't know. Like, I don't know what your main takeaway was from the Jets. Was it elation because we beat them and Tua was excellent down the stretch and we pulled it out and we saved our season? Or was it more like, damn, we had to do all that to beat Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, and our defense allowed Aaron Rodgers to look like, an Aaron Rodgers we haven't seen in 3 years? Like, I don't exactly know where your head is at, but either way, you're still in a position that gives you an opportunity to make these games meaningful. So I think that needs to be celebrated, especially with what Tua did down the stretch.
I felt fine about it because I thought, yes, the Dolphins defense has definitely reared its head as being a little suspect over the last couple of weeks, which I think we had our worries about. I mean, they're a limited team. They are going into this. They have 2 defensive linemen we trust. One can only play half the game. They have a rookie as their best pass rusher. And we've had questions about that secondary all year. Jordan Brooks has played really good. And that is also something that, with what the Texans bring to the table, can have you a little bit nervous. But to be fair, we've said this, and everybody said this about the Jets. That's a talented team. Whatever's gone on with them that has not led them to being good this year feels almost more dysfunction than it does talent. Their talent showed up on that game. They put the Dolphins against the ropes. They won. No questions asked. The Dolphins were able to find a way to pull out a victory. most teams you say that, you're happy with that. There's been plenty of times this year where the Dolphins should have been in that position and they blew it. And so I was happy with that win, and it ended the Jets season. So I have nothing that I take away from that is negative.
Tobin, you don't have to tell me I was right, but I know deep down you were thinking it Sunday afternoon. It's okay. You don't have to tell me. I understand, because I was pretty clear that I was a little nervous last Sunday.
You did say that. That's fair.
Aaron Rodgers, the big Aaron Rodgers game. I said it a couple times. I was a little nervous about that game. And you kind of you scoffed at me. You're like, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers." I mean,
he dialed it up,
and he looked like Aaron. Is all I'm saying. It's you don't have to tell me I'm right, Tobin. It's okay. It's all right.
They did lose. I'm not going to give you too much credit. Calm down. If I would have given you your flowers a little bit more, if it would have sat here with the Dolphins, with the Dolphins loss.
No, I'm not an "I told you so" guy, Tobin. I'm not. I would never be that guy. But it's okay. All right. I forgot to talk to you about it at the studio earlier this week, but it's all right. No problem. No, don't worry about it.
We'll take a break here on Game Day Uncensored, which is brought to you in part by your South Florida Chevy dealers. You're looking for more power, capability, and technology. With Chevy trucks, you're ready for anything. Chevrolet, together, let's drive. We'll dive more into that victory that the Miami Dolphins had. A clutch performance by QB1, a monster performance by Seiler it on up. That got him AFC Defensive Player of the Week. We'll hear from some of your Dolphins on the victory. This has been a very newsworthy week coming into it. We got people leaving the Dolphins. Lots to dive into over these 4 hours. We will talk to Adam Beasley. We will talk to Omar Kelly. We will get to all this back after this.
WQAM, casting live from the Ed Moore Sawgrass Auto Mall.
let's get back to Game Day Uncensored on AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and see how you're backed by Morse when it comes to returning your lease. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM. Tobin and Solana here with you. Taking you up until 1 o'clock. That is your kickoff from Houston today on CB. Do we have another Harlan game today? I think we got Kevin Harlan on the call today.
Ooh, do we?
I think we do.
Check.
I love Kevin Harlan, man. He called last week against the New York Jets and called that victory for your Miami Dolphins as they go on and they beat New York in overtime. A very clutch win. Could have been disastrous. Could have been one that would have left us in a puddle of tears. But instead, the Dolphins are able to get a big-time tying drive and a big kick from Jason Sanders to send it to OT. And then the Jets, like pure idiots, they call heads the coin toss when we all know tails never fails. And Tua gets that ball. And then all of a sudden, pause up, dude. Pause up. Jonnu Smith. They just start feeding the big tight end the football, Solana, and he takes off for him.
Yes, sir. It's crazy because no catches during the game. Like the guy we've been talking about, who's the Dolphins' best weapon, and they're throwing to him underneath. And the Jets were like, we're going to take Jonnu Smith away. You find Tyreek, find Waddle, all you want. We're going to take Jonnu Smith away. And then, Tobin, we're just going to throw two little passes out to the sideline to Jonnu Smith. He's going to go get two catches, and then Tua's going to throw a dart into the end zone to my guy, Jonnu Smith. Pause up, baby. Pause up. Let's
Pause
go.
all the way up, dude, for a walk-off win. What a season he's had. It's been incredible. He has been a revelation for this team, and 3 yards, 3 catches, 44 yards for all of that done in OT, including a huge 20-yard gain and the game-winning touchdown. It was a game where we did see the two race cars finally get off. Tyreek Hill had 10 catches, 115 yards. Jalen Waddle, 9 catches, 99. We saw them both score on one drive where Tua goes to Tyreek Hill. Was it a fourth and goal? A fourth and goal that he goes to him, I think. And then they go for the 2-point conversion. Basically, similar play, and he finds he finds Waddle for the 2-point score, made it 23 apiece. And then Dolphins were able to hold the New York Jets to a field goal, a huge sack from Zach Seiler, who ends up as defensive player of the week. This guy, I mean, I love him so much. You know, you listen to him this week, he's talking about this is the 5-year anniversary of him getting released by the Baltimore Ravens. And now we're talking Pro Bowl for this guy who, you know, was kind of looked upon as the sidekick to Christian Wilkins and needed to take a bigger role this year. He's going to take on more responsibility. Yes, Calais Campbell was awesome early in the year, but Calais Campbell basically plays like half the game because they got to protect his age. I mean, this has been such an incredible step up from Zach Seiler as the leader of that defense and coming up with big plays when you need them.
Yeah, Tobin, what was the conversation after Wilk left in the offseason? It was like, all right, well, Seiler was really good next to Christian Wilkins, but like, what's he going to look like without Christian Wilkins next to him, right? Like, can he still be that same player, that same impact player who's going to plug up the middle and just be an absolute monster and wrecking ball? And, bro, like, he proved that he doesn't need a Pro Bowler next to him, even though Calais has been great. Not to, take any shots there, but he proved like he's legit. He is a Pro Bowler himself. And, bro, it's awesome. I know it's your boy, Seiler it on up. But I think, when we look back at this season, no matter how it ends, and we reflect on this season, one of Chris Greer's best moves in the past, in the McDaniel era or going back before that, one of his best moves was bringing in Zach Seiler and then extending him when they did last year as well. He's been the Dolphins' most consistent player on the defensive end.
Yeah, he's been awesome, and I love that he's wearing the cowboy hat now. That's become his thing. He's like he generally looks like a Western sheriff that's not going to let you cause a ruckus in his town. It's a very menacing look for him to go with like fishing shirt with a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Houston knows what's in store for them. This guy is a maniac he was, it's funny because you listen to him and he kind of sounds like a giant teddy bear. And I don't know what what switch flips for him on that field, but he's just so menacing. Like he'll just plow through everybody like a bulldozer and ragdoll quarterbacks. It's so much fun to watch him play football. And to be honest with you, man, he's like inches of an arm going forward or back to having like 2 forced fumbles for scores this year. He's just it just feels like every week you don't know when it's going to happen, but there's going to be a play this guy makes on the field that you're just like that just changed the course of the game. That changed the course of the game. That's how good he's been this year. Unbelievable from him. And then Tua, man. Tua last week, you needed the clutchness from him. Pat, like this is one of those where it's like, all right, everybody who wanted to like hang the Thanksgiving box score in the rafters, and I was like laughing at them. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, who gives a rat's ass? Like you lost. You want to talk. This is a game where you're like, you know what? He had the yards. He needed every single one of them. And you could peacock about it a little bit because it matters. That was a clutch win against a rival, kept your season alive. It's absolutely one that just shows. Now, you could then go back and say, hey, Tua's been wheeling and dealing. That's for sure the case. He has been very good. But this is one that I think he could really hold up as being probably one of his most proud moments of the season.
Yeah, I have it written down here. He's the first player in NFL history with at least 40 pass attempts, multiple touchdown passes, and no interceptions in 3 consecutive games within a single season. He's been literally the only reason why the Miami Dolphins are still in a position where these games matter, Tobin. I mean, there's guys playing well on both sides of the ball. I realize that, but the Dolphins were pretty much donezo when they were 2-6, and Tua is single-handedly keeping them afloat right now with his arm. I think, there's no chance he's going to win the MVP because of the Dolphins record. Like he's not, but there is a case to be made. And we talked about this week on the show that he is the most valuable player to his team in the NFL. Like the true meaning of the word valuable. I think Tua is the epitome of that right now. I don't know why you're shaking your head. Honestly, I'm not saying
because you're getting infected by Hockman. Like, don't let him. Don't let him. He's not the MVP. He's not top 5 MVP.
First of all,
Patrick Mahomes is not as valuable to his team
this year.
All of these quarterbacks who are the franchise quarterbacks are as valuable to their team, dude.
Okay. We also saw Tua go out. And I saw in 5 weeks, one of them was a bye week, in 4 games, the Dolphins looked like the worst offensive team I've ever seen in the NFL ever, Tobin.
This is the thing. Like, all right, I love. This is the thing that's crazy about it is like I love the guy, and you've been a doubter of him, and I don't need to add on stuff to him that he doesn't deserve. Like he deserves. Like when the team is amongst the best in the league, then we could talk MVP. Right now, they're fighting for their playoff lives. Even if they get in the playoffs, he doesn't deserve to be in that conversation.
I'm not telling you, Tobin, that he deserves to win the MVP award. It's not what I'm here to do. It's not the battle It's not the battle I'm trying to win. What I'm saying is, when you think about who is the most valuable player to their team right now, I think Tua Tagovailoa deserves to be in the conversation because we saw this team without Tua, and now we're seeing this team with Tua, and they're 2 completely different teams. One team looks really good, and the other team might be the worst offensive team I've ever seen in football over a 4-game sample size. That's all I'm saying. And, Hawk is out here saying Tua's better than Dan Marino. I'm not going that far. I'm not telling you he's going to win.
You're getting close.
No, I'm not. I'm really
You're
not.
Getting close.
What? Come on, man. I'm just saying everything we're talking about right now with the Dolphins, the reason they're going into this game is because Tua's been able to put them in that position, and he's executed this year when he's been healthy, when he's been on the field.
He's been tremendous. But he's not the MVP.
Okay. I agree. I'm not saying he's the MVP. I'm just saying he's the most valuable player to his team. So,
yes, he is the Dolphins MVP.
Absolutely.
He is the Dolphins MVP. I will ride with that. Last year, people were like, it's Tyreek Hill. I would say this year it is for sure Tua. That is that I will co-sign on that. Now, a man we were talking about a little bit earlier, Zach Seiler. This is the Dolphins star defensive lineman on where they are with their season. He says, backs against the wall.
Yeah, I think it's more of a backs against the wall. It's every week's a playoff week, and I think it's, hey, look, we got to do everything we can in our power, stay late, extra tape, extra tubs, whatever you need to do to get the win. And I think we did it last week, and we need to continue that this week.
You want to know where Zach Seiler loves being? With his back against the wall, because that's where he's lived his life, backs against the wall. Okay. Little ass college, used to live in a van, was cut. This guy thrives in back against the wall.
Did he go to Ferris State?
Yes.
Oh, that's in Michigan. Yeah.
Yes. This man lives with his back against the wall.
How do you know that, Dan? That's
very
insane.
impressive.
Yeah.
One time a rando came up to me at a car wash when I was doing a broadcast and was like, you know where Ferris State is? Like, see my license plate? I go, no, I don't even know if that's a college. And he goes, it's in Michigan. And it stuck in my head. And then I saw last year Zach Seiler was from Ferris State. And I was like, wow, that's crazy.
He put out the photos this week of his RV that he lived in. That's crazy. This man lived in a van.
Yeah,
I couldn't do it. You want to know something? Like, I don't even care how nice an RV. He's a giant man. You know, like that person's not meant to live in a van. You know, like that's one of those things where, you know, how big can that bed be? He's, what is he, 6'6" and over 300? There's not an RV big enough for a human like that.
Yeah, he goes to like any normal hotel room, and he's one of these guys where like his feet are dangling off the bed, like of a king size bed.
It's ridiculous.
So,
it's ridiculous.
He had to, like, in the RV, in the van that he's living in. I don't know what bed he was able to put in there, but just like an incredibly long plank, like a 10-foot long plank of cushion. It's the only way he's sleeping in that van comfortably.
Jalen Waddle, he got into the end zone for a 2-point conversion. This was him talking about the Jets win and what it meant for the Dolphins.
It means a lot, you know. It was a hard-fought game. It was a game that we really needed to win, and you know, it just showed what this team could do. It definitely gave us a lot of confidence, but it's a whole nother team, another game plan. So we're just going about it like any other week.
Going with a win against a division rival, and now they set themselves up for the road game against the winning team. Even if they're not like the most, look, we got to take some baby steps here, Solana. Even if you don't think that Houston is the creme de la creme, which I would agree with you, I don't think that they are. You got to start somewhere. You know, it's kind of, it almost does it feel a little Rams-ish to you? The Rams have been kind of on a run right now. The Dolphins didn't get them in the midst of their hot streak. They were kind of like almost when the Dolphins got the Broncos last year, and then they kind of turned it around after that loss to the Dolphins where they dropped 70 on them. Would this be a more impressive win to you than it would be the Rams win?
Oh, for sure. I think so. I still think the Rams are a good team, but they're not, you know, like quote unquote contenders. I don't even think they're going to end up winning their division just because Seattle has the lead right now. I mean, we know Houston's going to win their division. They clinch it today if they beat the Dolphins. And this is a team last year in the Houston Texans that won a playoff game and looked really impressive and turned a lot of heads. I would say, you know, the difference between the Rams right now and the Dolphins right now is that the Rams have done this already. They've won a Super Bowl, and I understand it was a couple years ago, and their team looked a little bit different, but that head coach and that quarterback combination and some of the weapons, right, some of that core, they've done this already. Like, they've won a Super Bowl. They know what it takes, so you can't take that away from them. The Dolphins haven't. So this is a game that the Dolphins don't know how to win historically. This is a game that the Dolphins usually fall flat on their face in historically. So I struggle to kind of compare it to what the Rams are doing because late season Super Bowl caliber team or team that's won it already, like they know how to turn it on. They know how to go win games on the road against division opponents, teams that everybody thinks are better than them in the San Francisco 49ers, and just go figure out a way to win the game. And the Dolphins haven't. But going back to Tyreek really quickly
Sure.
and Waddle, like, are they back, Tobin? Is this like, okay, we feel comfortable that they're back? Because Cheetah, 10 catches, 115 yards, a touchdown. Waddle, 9 catches, 99 yards. That's the first time since week 1 that they both had at least 90 yards in a game. Like, is that sustainable? Are we expecting that moving forward? Or was it just a flash in the pan?
I definitely feel like Jalen Waddle's playing better football. I definitely feel like if anybody is feeling like they're more back after a slow start, they definitely feel like they've found something with Jalen that it seems like both of them can kind of get off now. So yeah, I do think it's sustainable. We still haven't seen like, the explosive play, and I honestly think that this is going to be an interesting game for it, because when you have a team like Houston that's so good at defending the pass, one of the league leaders in interceptions, they hold passer ratings really, really down. Like, maybe this is one of those where they don't feel like they're going to sell out to shut those guys down. I don't know what D'Amico Ryans is going to try and do for this team. That's kind of why I feel like it is important for the Dolphins to get some kind of run game going, if they're going to have a shot today. Because if they can get off, if they can get into a bit of a mode here, then yeah, maybe we see the two speedsters get out there and do it. But it definitely does feel, Solana, like it's come around a little bit with their games. I think that's fair. We'll take a break here on Gameday Uncensored. Speaking of wide receivers, time to talk about one man we got to say goodbye to, because an era has come to an end this week. We'll tell you about that coming up next on Gameday Uncensored.
Text WQAM on the Kendall Toyota text line at 3055.
Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Ed Morse has your back. Ed Morse Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click edmoresawgrasscadillac.com. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM. Want to give a shout out to Miami Northwestern and head coach Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
They win yesterday 41-0 to seal the 3A state championship. Teddy Bridgewater returning, and hey, this guy can coach. I mean, he can coach Solana, going back to his alma mater and bringing home the state title yesterday against Jacksonville Reigns. So great job by the Bulls yesterday. Shout out to them. I know Tua was giving some love. Got another note here. Adam Schefter reporting Texans tight end Cade Stover underwent emergency appendectomy surgery last night. He is, per the team, doing well and expected to make a full recovery, but I guess that will mean he is out. I mean, it's not their number one tight end target, but just another thing that they've got to deal with going into today's game. So that is from Adam Schefter. Now, Solana, let's get to this. The big news of the week. You know, we had to say goodbye to a couple of parties, although one may be back. Miami Dolphins, they parted ways mutually with Odell Beckham Jr. And the experiment is over. OBJ is no BJ. He is out of here. He left. He was practicing this week, and then all of a sudden they're like, no longer together. So what did you are you upset by this experiment not working out? Do you have a lot of feelings about it? What do you make of Odell basically saying, I don't know about this, the Dolphins being, I don't know about this? It seems like he wants to go find a role somewhere else. I saw that he gave back the rest of his salary, so he's free to go wherever or whoever claims him. Dolphins aren't on the hook for anything. What did you make of all this?
Yeah, good luck to whoever claims him. I mean, if you're looking for, like an Instagram celebrity on your roster or a TikTok star, then good. That's the guy. Go get him. Tobin, I mean, this guy missed the first 4 weeks, right? He starts the season on IR, and we're all like, that's kind of weird. And then we find out that Tua and him were playing catch like a father and son would, but that was it. Like he wasn't catching passes from Tua. And then he had those weird comments when he came off IR. And
that was a weird press conference.
Yeah, it almost sounded like
that the only time he spoke this year? I don't feel like we heard from him ever again. Like he had that one weird press conference. I don't remember it. If he did.
Yeah. No, you're right. I don't feel like he spoke midweek at all this season. But the comments were like, I don't really need to be here, but I'm doing it anyways. And I don't know, it just didn't sound like somebody who was committed really to being a great player this year. It just sounded like somebody who was begrudgingly putting his pads on every week. And our expectations for Odell really weren't that high to begin with. We kind of looked at his numbers last year in Baltimore, and we were like, hey, that was solid. If he could be that guy, that'd be cool. Another option for Tua, but he obviously never lived up to being the third option on the field. That's been Jonnu Smith, or it's been Devon Achane out of the backfield. It certainly wasn't Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, we expected him to come in and make an impact, and he was closer to Grant Dubose and D. Eskridge than he was to.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
than being anybody else. So good. I'm not upset that he's no longer on the team. I'm more upset, and I don't want to do it now, but you think about the resources that they committed to sign him, and I realize right now it doesn't matter because the Dolphins don't have to guarantee him his contract, but could that have gone to an offensive line or an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman to help out the depth on either side of the ball, rather than falling into the trap of, a receiver who's clearly past his prime that wasn't going to be available at the start of the season anyways. But, that's more of a Chris Greer conversation than anything. So good. Like Odell Beckham Jr., we're going to look back like 15 years from now when people are talking about his career and be like, oh yeah, he played for the Dolphins. That's right.
Yeah,
like,
I don't want to it's not like one of these things I want to get overly critical of because, the Dolphins have found their third receiver. It's Jonnu Smith. So that's great. And Malik Washington, can do kind of a little bit of everything. So those are positive things. But I do agree with you with like the offseason resources. It felt like not so much money, but energy. Like, oh, we had multiple negotiations and then Mike McDaniel had to talk me into it and all this. Like, we spent all this time like trying to get him in here for what? He wasn't even ready to play football. So I just think that maybe the Dolphins have to be more aware of, can they get the pulse of these guys a little bit better coming into the year? Cavalli mentioned Shaq Barrett. That's another one. Like, you didn't have any inkling that maybe he didn't want to play football. And these are, one guy essentially took the Van Ginkel spot. One guy you thought was going to be this role, and you had negotiations and public rumors and all this, and he wasn't ready to play football. So that's my only thing is like, why is there this energy put into guys? It seems like during the off season, you guys can't identify this stuff from the outset. Hey, you in or you out? Like, are you in? Are you going to be ready to play football, or are you here because you want to be in Miami? That's the question. That kind of goes to, I guess, the Deshaun Elliott comments from earlier in the year, where it's like, are guys coming here because they want to be on the Dolphins to help them win, or is this just a great place to be?
And with Odell, like, we think of Andrew Van Ginkel. That's another thing I that crosses my mind. Like, hey, what if they didn't spend that money on Odell and they would have used that money to ensure Andrew Van Ginkel would be back?
For sure.
And
all roads lead back to Van Ginkel. Yeah, I miss him so much.
They really do. Yeah. And Brian Flores is just loving it every single second of it. But you bring up the idea that, okay, you didn't want to be here. And do the Dolphins have a pulse on some of the guys that they're bringing in the offseason? And I know that McDaniel loves the stars, right? Yes. I think it's obvious.
And relating to stars. Like, that's his thing.
Right. Yeah. Like locker room guy and all that stuff. But like, is it worth it? We're seeing teams around the league that they're not necessarily going after stars. They're going after people that can help them win games immediately. And I don't know. It seems like the Dolphins have gotten duped by this already in the past. And this was just another example of it, where they're going after the big name rather than building out a proper roster to go win football games.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing about this Mike McDaniel, though. We rip him a bunch. People got concerns. This dude can find a center. He's done this. Aaron Brewer, I was watching this mic'd up this week. He's good. And he's had a good year. And he's now done this twice with him and Connor Williams. Mike McDaniel can find a center. He's good at that. Yeah. But here he is. This was him talking about the Odell Beckham situation. This is about a minute and a half on the back and forth of why it did not work out with OBJ.
Was it mutual agreement as was reported?
Conversations led us to determining that it was the best for both parties. I think we've been, Odell and I have been very communicative. Since he's been here, he had a tough start in terms of having to rehab his way into the season, and then just looking at it as simple as all right, what's the best for both him and the team moving forward, and we just thought it was a good time to go that direction. That was the motivation behind it. That's all.
And did it initiate, if you're able to share this, with Odell coming to you or Chris or his representation, saying it might be best for us to initiate something?
No, it's just our professional communication. He's a professional that has diligently chopped wood, and I know his expectations, and so when you communicate transparently,
I can kind of know where he's at, and we normal communication that just kind of led us that direction for the best for both parties, really.
One final thing, just to clarify this: Wednesday, Thursday, were those excused absences for him to just clear his mind or decide what he was going to do?
I think I don't really need to get into timelines and the nuances of it. We discussed, and we're both on the same page, and I wish him the best, and we'll be rooting for him.
All right, there you go. Mike McDaniel says, "See you, dude. Don't let the door hit you."
What's up with I texted you this earlier in the week. What's up with chopping wood? Why is everybody saying this all of a sudden?
I don't know. They've been chopping wood all over the place. And I got to tell you, if I had to pick one coach that does not look like a wood chopper, I don't mean to be rude, but I would say it's Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel looks like he's hiring a crew to get a stump off his lawn. I mean, am I crazy with that?
No, that's 100%, man. Like, some people just they don't look like they can handle power tools. They don't look like they can handle an axe. Mike McDaniel, I would bet, has never picked up an axe in his entire life and literally slammed it against a piece of wood. But what are we, like? We're the Miami Lumberjacks all of a sudden? Everybody's chopping wood all over the place? Is that what's going on? Because Tua said that after the Green Bay loss. He's like, we just got to keep chopping wood.
Keep chopping wood.
And now McDaniel's throwing chopping wood when asked about OBJ. Like,
nobody ever pictures, cutting a palm tree with cutting wood, do they? Like, we always just assume it's an oak, it's it's a pine. Like, nobody ever envisions, oh, can I get you ever have a rogue palm tree on your lawn that like you got to just take out? Does that count as chopping wood, or am I just cutting through a big leaf?
I don't think it counts, because like, to chop wood, you really have to hit the oak tree like 15, 16 times. You have to like balance it so it falls the right way.
Palm trees are a gamble, dude. I'll tell you one thing, because like a palm tree can either survive the strongest hurricane known to man, or it's going to just timber and you are taken out, dude. Like, it was great. What was I don't remember what it was. The one that we had like 4 years ago, and we had a palm tree that was in my backyard, and it like my thing ducked out. My house must have ducked out of the way like it was Floyd Mayweather. It was like it barely missed. I'm like, man, that could have taken out like half my house.
So I just bought a house right now, Tobin, as you know, and I have 3 trees in my backyard, but they're all 3 are palm trees, and I'm kind of sick of them, because like once a week, one of the palms, I guess, or the tree, whatever, will just fall. It'll just fall and make a loud ass noise. And I want to get rid of them, but I don't want to get rid of the trees. I want some sort of sun protection in my backyard. But I'll tell you what, I'm one of these people like Mike McDaniel who's going to hire a crew. You're probably, with a whole set of tools in your backyard, and you'll go out there, you'll probably chop a tree yourself.
Yeah, the thing with palm trees that you have to be careful. Like, a lot of guys, because I have hired to get rid of like squirrely palm trees before, they got to take them out. Like, they don't just go like, timber. Like, you have to take a palm tree out section by section. That's how it works. And I ain't climbing up a palm tree. I'm too fat for that. That's ridiculous.
Well, I can't even change a flat tire. So I'm
well, you shouldn't have said that on the air.
No, I mean, I hire people. Period. Bottom line. Like, if there's a flat tire, guess what? I'm calling.
What if you're in a rush, dude? What if you can't wait for somebody?
I have never. I don't even know how to change.
I can give you I can teach you. We can do this one time.
I'm good. I have a phone. Like, I can call somebody.
What if you're stuck somewhere? What if you're out in the desert? What if you're on a road trip with your lovely bride, and here you guys are, and you have no signal, and all you need to do is just change a tire? Are you gonna walk? Like, are you gonna feel like more of a man walking to the nearest signal, or the fact that you could actually change a tire? It's really not that hard.
Yeah. Call me less of a man all you want, man.
I'm not calling you less of a man. I'm just saying you're not equipping yourself.
First of all, I would never be out in the desert. Like, what? I want to go watch some cactus. Like, why would I go be out in the desert? I'm watching the Suns play in Arizona. Like, nah, I'm good. I'll be in Miami. And also, I'm gonna be somewhere where there's no signal. What is this? 2003, Tobin? Like, I get signal everywhere, bro.
No, dude. There's places with no signal. You can't say that. There are definitely places.
I wouldn't be in those places. I wouldn't be in those places. Period. Like,
Dan, can you change a tire?
Come on, man. I was changing tires when I was 14 years old.
Like, it really, like, I'll tell you, it's one of the scariest things. That's, especially if you're on driver's side, like on the highway. Whoo!
Oh yeah. Oh,
people don't care down here. Oh,
no. No,
They almost want to take you out. It's very scary.
Honestly, Solana, I've told you, you'll figure it out. I figured it out as like a 14-year-old. Okay, jack, tire tool. Okay, yeah, it might take a little while, but you'll be all right.
Yeah, the only key.
So somebody makes a great point on chat. They're like, Solana was stuck in the mountains with no signal not too long ago. That is true. I was literally stuck in the mountains, and knowing how to literally chop wood or trees down would have been very beneficial because I was trapped in the mountains with no ability to move these massive oak trees out of the way.
Are you too young to remember on ESPN2 the outdoor games? Do you remember those at all? Like at like 2 a.m, where people would literally like try and balance on logs, and then they would have chainsaw competitions.
I do remember that, but I thought it was like the strongest man competition where they were just like,
oh, I love those too,
tugging these like massive piles of wood or like these logs where they're literally just like trying to lift them up and move them as far as they can.
ESPN2, that used to be their heyday, dude. Pool, World's Strongest Man, and outdoor games. Love that. We'll take a break. We'll come back and get more into this matchup coming up against the Houston Texans and the weight of this game. We'll hear from Tua. We'll hear from Tyreek on this upcoming matchup. More Game Day Uncensored after this.
It's time for the 13th annual Channing Crowder Toy Drive. Join Hawk and
3-3.
It's another Game Day Uncensored.
The Dolphins face the AFC South leading Houston Texans today in good old Texas. As always, lots on the line for the Fins. A victory today means the Dolphins are at 500 and still alive to make the postseason. It was a thrilling win for the Dolphins last week over the Jets, but Jalen Waddle says, well, it's time to move on.
It means a lot, It was a hard-fought game. It was a game that we really needed to win. And, it just showed what this team could do. It definitely gave us a lot of confidence, but it's a whole another team, another game plan. So we're just going about it like any other week.
The Dolphins had joint practices with the Texans. Tua was asked if that's helpful at this point in the season.
Yeah, you can take a good amount. That's their defense structurally. They do things different, with their fronts and their backers. But you can definitely take what they've done in our joint practices and try to implement that, into some of the plays that we have.
Well, in just a few hours, we'll see if the Dolphins can get another thrilling victory. Let's talk about what they need to do to win. It's Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans with Tobin, Solana, Omar, and Beasley. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9, HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored here, 560 WQAM. Brendan Tobin here with you alongside my co-host Alejandro Solana and our producer Dan Day, who is coming up today. Post-game edition. When are you on today, Dan? What is the post-game show for today's action?
We're going to follow the Miami Hurricanes basketball game against Presbyterian. Should be around 4:30 to 7:30.
Yeah, have they gotten off the schneid yet, or are they still trying to snap that losing
7-game losing streak?
Today's the day, dude. Feels like the day. Today feels like the day for our Canes. Bouncing back, baby. That's what we got going on, It's that type of week, It's a tough start to the year, to be honest with you. Either way, we'll get to this. Dolphins are getting ready for the Houston Texans. A couple of other notes, Solana. Bradley Chubb not making his return. This was announced yesterday. He is not going to be activated, nor is Cameron Good, nor is Blake Ferguson, which remains one of the interesting mysteries of this season. I don't know, what's up with that, but I hope everything's okay with him. I just want to be clear. Like, I don't, make fun of Blake Ferguson. I just find this all to be very weird. The Dolphins have been playing long snapper swapskis all season long. It's just a very strange situation.
Didn't he play a game? He didn't play last week?
Do
I have that right?
I thought I saw that he was out this week.
Yeah, no, I think he's inactive this week, but I thought he played last week. I could have sworn Blake Ferguson was back last week.
Oh, look, maybe I'm making a huge mistake, but I thought I saw that he was out this week, because that'd be even weirder that he was in and then he was out.
No, he's definitely out this week. The Dolphins elevated Zach Triner off their practice squad for the game this week. I could have just sworn that Blake Ferguson played last week. I could be wrong.
Right. You might be right.
It really doesn't matter because none of us are focused on the long snapping anyways, but
I still miss the guy who was the fastest snap in the West. I don't know.
What was his name again?
Yeah, you are right. That did say that he was back.
Yeah. I remember last week we had mentioned it. We're like, all right, Blake Ferguson's back. Things are back to normal in the long snapping world.
That's weird, man. I hope he's doing it. That's a strange situation that's going on there. But Bradley Chubb spoke. We'll hear a little bit from him later on. But if they win this week, probably it sounded like Mike McDaniel said we're leaning towards next week. They're being obviously cautious with him, and we'll have him for this stretch run, possibly the playoffs if they can somehow sneak their way in. But what did you what do you make of them being at this point with Bradley Chubb because he revealed this week like this has been a nasty knee injury, and this was not just an ACL, like it was everything that was in the knee basically. So this was a hell of a rehab for him.
Remember, this was week 6, I think, or week 7, when people start asking about Bradley Chubb. And I don't know if it was McDaniel or maybe it was Anthony Weaver, but somebody said, yeah, it's ACL plus. And I'm like, listen, man, I've torn my ACL. I consider myself a knee expert because I've had 2 knee surgeries. And I'm like, ACL plus? What the hell is that? Like, I've never heard of ACL plus. Bro, this dude tore his ACL. I think they said his PCL and his patella tendon. Like, that is crazy. A patella tendon, just tearing that patella tendon could keep you out a full year. Now you add on to the fact that he tore his ACL and other ligaments in his knee. Like, bro, I give Bradley Chubb all the respect in the world for even trying to be back. And it's been less than a year, or it's been like exactly a year. So, like, I hope he's good. You know, I hope this isn't a Jalen Phillips situation where he's trying to defeat science, but just listening to him, you could tell like the dude's been through it, man. And he's like really fought his way to be back and to try to be out in the field. But Tobin, he didn't sound like somebody who mentally was like, yeah, I'm ready to go this Sunday. Like, remember Jalen Phillips? Everything the dude was saying was like, yeah, I'm gonna be on the field. Like, that dude, he was going out in that field, you know, like mentally you could tell he was ready. Bradley Chubb, not that he sounds weak or anything. I'm not trying to suggest that. I'm just saying it didn't sound like somebody who was like fully prepared to go out there on Sunday. And I think, you know, when you're coming off an injury like that and you're going to go play the most physical sport in the world, if you're not 100% committed and 100% confident that you're recovered and that you can go out there and play, I don't think it's the right decision to go out there. And even Anthony Weaver was asked about it, like, hey, what would expectations for Chubb be? And he didn't want to give expectations.
Yeah.
So I think it's the right decision not to activate him, let him get another week of practice. And if the Dolphins win this week, I mean, yeah, you're looking at a situation where, you know, a lot still has to happen for the Dolphins to make a playoff. But the fact that you'd be getting a pass rusher back of that caliber, even if he comes in on a limited snap basis, is a huge addition.
By the way, you were right. He did play last week, Blake Ferguson. 7 snaps. I just took the snap counts from last week. So that's weird, man. All right.
Yeah. Very weird.
Whatever. Hope everything's okay. Like I said, let's hear from Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill talking about the adversity the Dolphins have faced. They obviously have a huge 4-game stretch here with the Texans being the best team on paper that they're facing the rest of the way. This is him on the adversity they had, preparing them for this run.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I feel like a lot of guys are using that as fuel, learning from mistakes, you know, earlier in the season, just trying to get better, like whatever it takes to win games. So it's been a mindset. Guys are, you know, in meeting rooms longer. Guys are staying out to practice longer, like doing the small things, trying to get better. So that's just the approach you got to have, like whenever you're trying to win these kind of games, you know, because, you know, everybody's tired, everybody's sore, but like, what are you going to do to separate yourself and go the extra mile, you know, to be different? And we got a lot of guys that have been doing a great job of, you know, doing those little things.
This is not going to be an easy one today, but it does feel like if they can win this one today, Solana, it's all there for them the rest of the way. I mean, the 49ers are kind of falling apart. Brock Purdy has not been playing well. They don't have McCaffrey. There's infighting. Deebo Samuel's being a diva. You know, honestly, the thing I'm most scared of after this week is the temperature in Cleveland. That's it. I'm being dead ass serious. Like, that's what I'm most scared of, is right now scheduled to be a night game. I don't know if that'll get flexed. You know, it could, but it's not like definite because the schedule, you remember, it's the Christmas week. It's the post-Christmas week. So there's not many Sunday games. The only one that will potentially flex it would be, I think, Packers Vikings, I think is what the game is. So we'll see. But, you know, I think, you know, if they can get this one today, I just feel like that is it's not only a must win, but it's a confidence booster the rest of the way. Be like, all right, we just took out a division leader, maybe not like one of the heavyweight contenders, but they were going to go to the playoffs. And I think it'd just go a long way in the fans' eyes to get this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've been kind of looking at like all the machinations of what needs to happen for the Dolphins to get to the playoffs. Like, I think really we got to focus on today. And then if they win today and we see what happens with the Denver and the Colts, and we can kind of start looking at like, okay, what really needs to happen, right? But bottom line, you got to win out. And this is the toughest game remaining on the Dolphins schedule. I think we would all agree. I'm with you. I'm a little hesitant about the Dolphins going to go play Jameis Winston and the Browns in the cold because I know they're losing games and Jameis will throw 3 or 4 picks in a game. We know that unless God is going to come down finally and remove those interceptions from Jameis's arsenal. But yeah, like if the Dolphins do win their next 2 games, I could see that game staying Sunday Night Football because of the playoff implications.
Agreed.
You know? Jameis right now is like must-watch TV. Everybody wants to watch him. And if the Dolphins need to win that game to be in a must-win final Week 18 game against the Jets on the road, maybe that's still a game that can garner some interest nationally. But you're talking about Sunday night in Cleveland where you know there's going to be a pound of snow on the ground. Like, that's not an ideal situation against a team that, again, they're losing, but they're still competitive. They're still in games, and they're putting up a ton of points.
We'll take a break here on Game Day Uncensored. We'll give you some keys to the game and how this Dolphins defense plans on slowing down a potent Texans offense. We'll take a break. Back with more Game Day Uncensored after this.
WQAM broadcasting live from the Ed Moore Sawgrass
WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here. 560 WQAM. We'll talk to Adam Beasley coming up in about 10 minutes and preview this upcoming Week 15 matchup against the Houston Texans. But first, Solana, let's get to some keys to the game, which are brought to you by Doral Hyundai. At Doral Hyundai, choose from over 1,300 new Hyundai models in inventory, like the Tucson, Sonata, and Palisade. And remember, when it comes to Hyundai, the great deals are at Doral Hyundai. So this is a team, potent offense, Solana. You know, CJ Stroud maybe not having the season that he had last year, which was an insane rookie year where he would throw just 5 interceptions. Right. Was the toast of the town. Everybody, they were a bit of a hipster Super Bowl pick. Everybody was feeling the Houston Texans. I don't know if it's quite lived up to expectations, but, you know, you talk about what they can bring to the table from an offensive standpoint. You know, not a team you can definitely sleep on when it comes to this Texans squad. You would agree?
Yeah, I don't think you can sleep on them. I mean, they're 8-5, right? Like, I mean, and they're at home. It's towards the end of the year. The same way that people kind of look at the Kansas City Chiefs in the sense that, hey, Mahomes hasn't played great. The offense hasn't been great. It's been the defense carrying them. But at some point, the offense is going to have one of those games, right, Tobin? Like, everybody is aware that the offense is capable of having one of those games where they just go absolutely insane and they put up a bunch of points. I think you can look at the Houston Texans in a similar way. I'm not saying the Texans are the Chiefs, don't get me wrong, but the Texans this year haven't been this, like, high-powered, potent offense, and CJ Stroud hasn't been this remarkable quarterback who's playing at an MVP level, but he's capable of it.
He's capable of it.
We know he's capable of it.
Nico Collins, you know, and
Nico's
had, I mean, he's only played 8 games. He's got over 800 yards. So, you know, this guy can definitely put up some monster numbers on the Miami Dolphins. They got to be on their P's and Q's. And I think that for a team that just gave up a whole heap of yards to Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson, you know, it's going to have you a little bit nervous with what they're doing. And honestly, and Mixon's had a good year for them too. Here was Anthony Weaver earlier in the week, the Dolphins defensive coordinator, on what they're going up against on his former squad that he used to run their defense, used to play for the Texans. Mike McDaniel got to start with the Texans, right? Wasn't that his first gig? Was it the Texans, I think? And
the Broncos.
Well, he's a ball boy for the Broncos. So technically, if we're going to go all the way back, yeah, I guess the Broncos. But I think his first pro job was with the Texans.
Gotcha.
Here was Anthony Weaver earlier in the week.
They got a squad, right? They have a bunch of guys, and the good thing, particularly a year ago, I played them twice when I was in Baltimore, so I have some familiarity with what they're trying to do schematically and how they're using them. But they have all the talent in the world, right? Nico's big, strong, fast, great hands. Joe Mixon. Unfortunately, had to play against him the last 3 years, too, in AFC North, and a back that I don't think really gets enough credit throughout the league. Can run with physicality, is great at the backfield. He tries to punish DBs on the second level, which I respect from a back. So, and then the quarterback has all the talent in the world, right? He has a cannon for an arm, can make every throw, has a tremendous amount of talent, a sneaky good athlete, right? Like, that's not what you think of when you think of CJ Stroud, but he can create problems with his feet too. So, as a defense, we know we got to play our best game today. It's December football. Like I told you, the playoffs started for us a long time ago. So we were fortunate to get out of Sunday with a win. We're not playing our best. We know to go on the road. You know, if you want to win on the road, you better pack a good defense and get on that plane.
I find his voice very soothing, Anthony Weaver. Like, I always feel like this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He's just got a presence to him. You know, he's got great sideline presence.
He's going to be a head coach soon. I'll tell you that. I don't know where.
Maybe.
He's going to be a head coach.
Maybe. I think this would go a long way if you could somehow slow these guys down, that would go a long way with him wanting to build that resume for sure. By the way, for our YouTube audience right here, loading this up, our YouTube and Twitch audience, we got Baby McDaniel on the Texans. Look at him.
Oh, man. Wow.
Man, that's a look right there.
Woo. Talk about a glow up, huh?
Yeah, he's got, this is, this kid I wouldn't trust to run my organization. Little punk, but now he's got the glasses, the style put together, Wasn't he coaching Andre Johnson too?
Yeah, I think he was.
That is funny.
That looks like a kid that just loves Green Day more than anything. Like knows every single word to every single Green Day song ever.
He definitely does. He's got
from rocking oversized team polos with a white shirt underneath to now showing up game day in off-white Nikes and a Gucci jacket.
I mean, being the low man offensive assistant on the Texans, what are they paying him in Texans bucks? Like he gets like team store dollars. Like that's probably all he can afford. And he's just like, what can I do? What can I rob from this equipment manager to get in here and figure things out? But hey, man, all the Texans ties, all the former Houston guys going there. This is your chance to go put on a show. Make it a home game and a road game.
It's a lot, man.
To get this one.
It's like everybody's homecoming. It's crazy. It's a weird like tie-in that the Dolphins and Texans have. And then, I know we're going back a while, but the Laramie Tunsil, like there's some weird history between these two organizations.
For sure. I mean, like, look, they got the playoff win before the Dolphins did with trading Laramie Tunsil, even though the Dolphins were able to get, have some fun and get, use those picks to get Chubb, who's not playing today, and Tyreek Hill, who I guess is having a down season. So there's nothing as an organization, if you're running the Texans, that would make you happier than being like, man, you guys traded with us and we're already ahead of you guys. Because it does feel like that. Like, look, they play in a weak division. But part of that is the Dolphins just cannot even seem like they could fight in the any kind of game with the Buffalo Bills.
If you look back the day that the Dolphins made that trade, and then even like a year following that, when they start moving some of those picks and they start acquiring assets or whatever, I mean, who would you have rather been, the Texans or the Dolphins? And everybody in the world would have said, oh my God, the Dolphins. Like, look at the haul they got for Laramie Tunsil. Look what they turned it into. If you would have told us that day, hey, you know what? The Texans are actually going to draft a franchise quarterback and they're going to have a playoff win before you, we would have laughed in everybody's face. But we're the Dolphins. Here we are. You're muted, Tobin.
Adam Beasley from Pro Football Network. We'll talk some football. We'll talk this week 15 matchup with the Texans. Adam Beasley coming up next.
Text WQAM on the Kendall Toyota text line at
AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and see how you're backed by Morse when it comes to returning your lease. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM. It is that time of the program where we check in with our guy, Adam Beasley from Pro Football Network. Dolphins got a monster game coming up at 1 o'clock against the Houston Texans. Bees, Solana and I both started the show. We both started today's show. Feeling oddly confident. I don't know what it is. I think it's probably because it's in a dome. Rather than in the elements. But what is your temperature on this team coming into this matchup? It's a good Texans team. They got a lot of strengths. They got some, injuries around the place. But this matchup, do you feel like the Dolphins are a worse team than Houston, an even team with Houston? Where do you think they match up in this one?
I think the Texans right now are slightly better than the Dolphins. Their records reflect that, but I don't think this is David and Goliath by any stretch of the imagination. I think the Dolphins have a real chance to win this game. But guys, we've talked about this every single time. There's been this hyped, gotta have it, defining moment. Dolphins do or die. Are they for real? How many cliches can I shove into one sentence? This is what it's been. And every single time they've lost. And I guess, you could say the Rams, but when they played the Rams, weren't they 2-6? That was just, no one had any expectations for the Dolphins at that point. And, they went and won in a controlled environment like they're having here, and a fan base that isn't exactly rabid like they have here. I mean, I don't think this game is even airing in Dallas today. That's crazy. That's how little the state of Texas cares about the Houston Texans. You've got to have the ticket to watch this game 4 hours away. So it is a different vibe, certainly, than going to Lambeau on Thanksgiving night when it's 12 degrees wind chill and there's flurries and all that. It is a controlled environment. The Dolphins don't have a great history against the Texans. I think they're 8-3 all time, but all three of those wins came in their last 4 games. So maybe, I don't know, if you're looking at trends, the tide's turning.
Bees, the reason why I think I'm confident is because, and you're right, I don't want to get fooled by this team, and I feel very confident that I'm a realist when it comes to the Dolphins, right? Against Green Bay, my hopes were very low because I know what this team does when they go on the road in December and January against elite competition. But are the Texans elite? And that's where I'm struggling, to find an answer because, I mean, they beat the Bills. Impressive win. The Dolphins can't beat the Bills. They're our daddies. We know that. But every other good team they've played, Minnesota this season, Detroit this season, they've lost. Those are the only other 2 teams they've played that are really good teams. They lost to the Jets this year. They lost to Green Bay this year on the road as well. They don't have, outside of that Buffalo win, they don't really have an impressive victory on their schedule. Their division's no good. They struggled against the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road in a division game a couple weeks ago. Are the Texans good? Because you're saying right now they're a little bit better than the Dolphins. I think that's fair, but who are the Texans, right? Do you know? Are you confident, other than Joe Mixon, he's going to run the ball very well, that they're very good at one thing?
Yeah, rushing the passer. They're incredibly good at getting after the quarterback. Their defense, their offense is rough, okay? Their offense is basically Joe Mixon, and cross your fingers that C.J. Stroud can make a couple plays, okay? Their defense, particularly their front 7, is a handful. I know Mitre is out for the year, so that hurts them. But, guys, it sounds like Kendall Lamb's going to play, but still Kendall Lamb and Patrick Paul against Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, that worries me, okay? And Tua leads the league in least time to throw, so I guess it's worse than the league in time to throw. However we're going to say it, he has the quickest release in football. at 2.4 seconds per throw. It's going to have to be like 1.4 today. Okay. All these people complaining, why can't they get Tyreek and Waddle open downfield in these double moves? Good luck finding him in that amount of time they're going to have. It's going to be a lot of the offense that we've seen in recent weeks. So if you're asking me what the Texans do well, they kind of become DeMeco Ryans' team in his image a bit, playing this defense, playing, getting after the quarterback, pinning your ears back, making plays, turning the ball over, setting up short fields so that offense that has had real problems, particularly on the interior offensive line, doesn't have to do it all. So to me, it's pretty simple. Like, look at quarterback hits, look at pressures, look obviously at sacks, turnovers. If the Dolphins can keep those four things under control, they're going to win the game. But if it gets to a situation where they need to have Tua sit back there in the pocket, he's going to get eaten alive.
So Odell Beckham got let go this week. How surprising or unsurprising was this? And I guess what do you think the Dolphins' reflections of this whole experiment will be when it's all said and done?
Yeah, sometimes lotto tickets don't cash. I mean, I guess that's the way to say it. He really didn't get paid all that much by the Dolphins, a few $1 million, I think, which for, a veteran with his pedigree isn't that outrageous. They took a shot and they missed. And I don't know. Well, to me, we don't know exactly if it was if he's just washed, if he's just done, which he kind of looks that case, or if, the injuries he had, the late start to camp. And I mean, he is kind of, lumbering is not the right word, but he's not the fleet-footed, quick, in and out of cuts guy, certainly that he was early in his career, and certainly not what the Dolphins need in this offense. Like, you look at what they have, those guys, they play tight end for the Dolphins, right? They don't play wide receiver. So he may have always been round peg, square hole, and he just could never make the jump. I mean, guys, he was playing like 13, 14 snaps a game for these guys. I think he had like 6 catches, 5-6 catches, something like that in his entire time here. Not a big loss at all. You're seeing Malik Washington had already passed him on the depth chart. I mean, he was clearly WR3. And probably my guess is, this is just purely supposition, but my guess is they went to him and said, you're going to get outsnapped by River Craycraft this week. And Odell's like, well, why am I even here? Right? Why? What's the point? Will he find another opportunity? He's got to clear waivers, which I'm sure he will. No one's going to pick up even the small contract the Dolphins gave him. And then he can sign for somebody for the minimum if he wants. But to me, it's just unclear if there's a place in the league for Odell Beckham anymore, which is sad. Obviously, when he was at his best, we all remember, completely electric. That was 10 years and 2 knee surgeries ago.
I know McDaniel said they don't regret signing OBJ, but should they, Bees? I mean, it's easy to do it now. I know it's easy to look at revisionist history and go, oh, well, they could have done this with that money. But should they have gone down that path to finding another target other than Tyreek and Waddle when they had already signed Jonnu Smith, and knowing what Devon Achane was going to be in terms of his production within the offense? Like, should they have allocated those resources to either bring in another offensive lineman or a defensive lineman, adding to the depth of the position groups that clearly needed help?
Yeah, sure. You can always make that case. I think you can make the same case, to be frank, with Jordan Poyer. Right. I mean, Marcus May, some of these guys that they had when you're in the cap situation that they were, and we have to go back to March and remember that things were rough, right? Said goodbye to Christian Wilkins, said goodbye to Robert Hunt, said goodbye to Xavier Howard, said goodbye to Jerome Baker, which, although I think that was an upgrade because Jordan Brooks has been really good for them. Right. But all these things that they had to do at the time create a circumstance where they had to just cross their fingers and hope some of these veterans that were long in the tooth would hit. Now, that strategy has been brilliant with Calais Campbell, right? It's absolutely, they nailed that one for sure. But it's a volume game, right? In any volume game, you're going to have the failures. And so Odell's one of them. I'm not going to crush them because it wasn't a ton of money. And, to me, what's unfortunate is they couldn't have gotten to this answer sooner. And they couldn't have gotten to this answer sooner because he didn't practice until, what was it, mid-September? No, not even later than that, probably early October, the first time he practiced with the Miami Dolphins. He's only been on the field for 2 months. If they hadn't, I don't think they had a keen sense of that procedure he had in the offseason, how long it was going to take to come back from. I thought they probably thought they might have gotten some training camp out of him and just really seen going into the season what they may have had. Ton of respect for that dude in the building. I know Mike certainly had thought highly of him when they brought him in. It's unfortunate it didn't work out, but it's just every team has misses like this every year in free agency.
Speaking of guys that Mike McDaniel thinks highly of, Raheem Mostert. All right, this is a guy who's his role, what you probably thought it was going to be coming into this year to where it is pretty surprising. But I mean, do you feel like there's any shot that maybe they lean on him a little bit more because of the run games, just vanished over these, this last half of the season, and I feel like Houston is a team that's really good at pass defense. The Dolphins need some kind of semblance of having a run game if they're going to have a shot against them. You think there's any shot this could be a Mostert resurgence game, or it's Achan's billing right now? It's his backfield.
They really, really love Devon as their featured back. We'll see. I mean, Mostert's health has played a role, but I also think that their inability to run the ball in general has played a role in what they're looking like now. And I wish I had an answer. I wish I knew why. I mean, it's so counterintuitive, right? You would think that when your quarterback is Snoop Huntley or Tim Boyle, or for them, they didn't really run the ball well when Skyler was in there, but when your quarterback is those two dudes, you shouldn't be able to have the success that you had then and not have it now, because the passing game is so much more of a threat now than it was then. Certainly they're not committing to it as much as they did. I wonder how much Alec Ingold, his calf has been bothering him for weeks and weeks and weeks now. I wonder how much of that has played a role, because he is such a tone setter in that running game. I'm curious if we're going to see Isaiah Wynn. Like, to me, that's like I don't think he's played in the game. It was funny. I was watching during the Jets game, and I was like, who is number 77 just standing all by himself on the sideline? Oh, it's Isaiah Wynn. Like, he's on their roster. I totally forgot that he was there. He's just standing there, not with the offensive line, just watching the game. And, is he better than Rob Jones? Maybe. I think Eichenberg, we've crushed Eichenberg on this show, and I'm sure you guys have independently of me. He really hasn't been, I mean, he can't stay on his feet, which is a problem, but he really hasn't been that big of a problem, right? I think left guard, if they had confidence that Wynn was ready and he could contribute, he would be, but it's a little surprising. But getting back to your broader question, I don't know. They're just getting out physical. Like, they're just getting blown up at the point of attack. And they faced some pretty good fronts, but come on, let's not kid ourselves. The Packers aren't the best defensive front in football. The Jets, I know they've got some talent in there, but they're not the Jets of 2 years ago. I don't understand it. Yes, they need to be able to run the football, particularly if, you're worried about your tackle situation and those edge rushers that are going to come after Tua. So I wish I had an answer for you guys. It's just bad and has to get better.
Yeah, and last week you told us in the McDaniel era, so the last 3 years, right? 2 years and whatever, they're the worst team in picking up those short to gain situations, the 3rd and 1s, the 4th and 1s, and last week was no better. It's embarrassing at this point, honestly. B is like, what is that? Just as simple as, hey, the other teams are more physical, period, end of story? Is it bad game planning or scheming on those situations as well? Like, why continue to hand it to Devon Achan for a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1 when he's not your most physical back, and you've struggled doing that same thing all season long? Like, doesn't something have to give at some point? You mentioned Ingold is dealing with a calf injury, but I feel like I've seen that story already. Handing it off to Alec Ingold for the fullback dive. He's no Lusaka Polite. We know it already. So, like, what is it about this team that they can't pick up those situations that it seems every other team in the NFL has figured out how to get?
Yeah, and even if they haven't figured it completely out, they're better than 50% or whatever the average is for in the McDaniel era. It's wild. I'm curious if we might potentially see a Snoop Huntley package in short yardage this week, because he's clearly their QB2. Skyler is not currently on the roster. We'll see if he comes back in the practice squad or whatever, but he is not on the team anymore. So it's Snoop and Tua as the two quarterback options, and we know that Huntley's going to be active today. Maybe. I mean, I understand why they don't want to run Tua on quarterback sneaks. Okay. You don't have to explain that to me. I'm not a smart guy, but I'm smarter than that. I understand why they're not going to do that. Tyler's a different story, right? I mean, he has shown an ability to do things with his legs. He's a bigger guy than Tua. Why not give it a shot? And like, it's insane. It's 3 feet. Like, it is 3 feet. You cannot pick up 3 feet with all of the talent you have on offense. And yeah, part of it is construction and part of it is, philosophy of team, and they run outside zone. Sometimes teams can stop outside zone, right? I get all that. They need someone who can just lean behind a guard or a center and get that yard. Maybe Tyler's that guy this week.
What'd you make of, there was a mention this week by the worldwide leader that people are looking at the Dolphins or monitoring that situation to see if it ends badly. Maybe Mike McDaniel's on the hot seat. You buy that at all? Like, how bad would it have to go for that to actually be a thing anymore? Because it kind of feels like they've gotten out of the woods with that one.
Yeah, I mean, if they lose out, anything's possible, right? If they, 6-11 would be really rough. Yeah, I get that, and even 7-10 with that schedule. But let's be honest, even if they lose today, they're going to win 2 of their last 3 games. They're playing 3 bad teams. So are you gonna fire McDaniel at 8-9? I don't know. I mean, I think the broader questions in the personnel department, what happens there. But unless there are things that we don't know going on behind the scenes where players have just shut him out, and there, all these things that are also gateways to coaches losing their jobs, which doesn't really seem to be the case. I mean, they played hard last week. They didn't play well, but they played hard last week, and they really have not played poorly, that Packers game notwithstanding, since Tua's come back. Okay. So I think he's going to be able to skate on the Tua injury. Now he's going to have answers as to how that situation that torpedoed their season this year, if that happens, doesn't occur again. Maybe that answer is changing your general manager. I don't know. That if you're going to have a question, I'd have more of a question about that than McDaniel, simply because, they were 2-6 and it's December 15th and they have a real puncher's chance to make the playoffs. So to me, that again, I don't want to say anything too much definitively, because in the moment we didn't know how bad things were with Flores and Tua and all that. So there could be things going on behind the scenes, but like, that's another team that finished really strong, and I was surprised that he didn't get another chance. I don't get that sense. And here's one more thing, guys. Like, Steve Ross has been on this merry-go-round for so long. Yeah. Like, he has never hired a coach and let him coach 4 full years, ever. Does he want to be the owner that does that every single time? Particularly, they gave up on Dan Campbell, and now he might be the best coach in the league, right? Craziest, but like, he's one of the best coaches in football right now, and they didn't believe in his development. Would they do the same thing with Daniel after back-to-back playoff wins and an offense when healthy is as good as anybody? That would really surprise me.
I'm with you, Bees, but I will say Stephen Ross is 84 years old, and I don't know anything about his health. I'm not speculating on that. It would be unfair for me to do it, but Stephen Ross is 84 years old. Before the season, on CBS 4 in a preseason game, he said he's talking Super Bowl. He's thinking Super Bowl. Why not let those be the expectations? I think realistically, everybody's expectation was go win at least a playoff game, right? Like that was it. Go win a playoff game. Is there any thought in your head? Because to me, it makes all the sense in the world where Stephen Ross says, okay, this is the year. If we don't win a playoff game, I have one more opportunity to clean house and build another 3-4 years. Like one more, he's going to have one more opportunity to do it. And why wait? So is there any thought in your head that could be a legitimate situation where Stephen Ross is saying, I can get one more crack at a rebuild, and if this group couldn't do it, I'll go find my final group to do it?
Solana getting morbid on a Sunday morning.
No, and I don't mean to, but I mean, this guy's committed every resource to building a winner. Like, I don't think anybody can blame Stephen Ross for lack of caring about this organization. Like, look what he's done in Hard Rock Stadium. I credit him for all those things, but I'm just being honest. I mean, at a certain point, you have to look at yourself and say, like, how much more time do I got to see this through? And if again, not only do you regress, but you don't even make the playoffs this year. Like, that has to be a thought that passes his mind.
Sure, and that's why I would think that the guy who's been here a quarter century and has never won a playoff game might be more at risk than the guy who's been here 3 years and hasn't won a playoff game. That would be my only argument. And I also say this is that he really likes Mike. I mean, he does. It's like on a personal level, I think he really like Mike. You know why Gase got fired? Because he was a jerk. Like behind the scenes, he was a jerk to Ross. And I like Adam a lot. Like I think Adam's a cool dude. But he wasn't putting up with Ross's BS. And again, I get it. You only own the team. You want someone to kiss your ass, they're going to kiss your ass. I totally get that. But I don't see that dynamic. Flo definitely got fired because he was a jerk, okay? He was king jerk. McDaniel's not really that guy at all. So
he's adorable.
I think you're right. I think a big reason why Greer's lasted so long is because he's not a jerk. And sometimes it's just that simple, that collaboration and teamwork and no ego and all those things, they are more valued than sometimes high level competence. And one more thing before we get out of here about this coaching change. You can't replace something with nothing. And there are going to be some jobs open this year. Like we're getting there. I mean, I know whatever there 2 or 3 already open. We're going to have a bunch more. Like there are going to be some jobs out there. How many candidates are there going to be? Like there's only so many Ben Johnsons and Mike Vrabels to go along. Now, I'm not saying this is going on, but if he's got a pipeline to Vrabel and Vrabel's like, I'm your man, Cam McDaniel. Okay, that's a conversation. But if you're thinking of firing Mike with the hope of getting someone better to replace him, I think that's really tough.
Well, if they do, they better, cover their tampering tracks better than the last time,
Hey, Vrabel's not under contract. He can do anything you want. So
I'm just saying, dude. Like, listen, just not, mind your P's and Q's this time when it comes to hiring somebody.
Yeah.
All right, Bees, appreciate the time, man.
All right, enjoy the game.
Go follow Adam Beasley, guys. Pro Football Network does a fantastic job. Joins us every single week. We'll take a break. Back with more after this.
It's time for the 13th annual Channing Crowder Toy Drive. 7473.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
It's another Game Day Uncensored.
Well, folks, time to fasten your seatbelts again. It's another critical game for the Dolphins. Today, we're in Yeehaw, Texas for a showdown, y'all, with, of course, the Texans. Now, with a win today, the Dolphins will be at 500 and stay in the hunt for a playoff spot. Go Fins. AFC Defensive Player of the Week, Zach Seiler says, yeah, there's pressure to win again. But
I think more of a backs against the wall. It's every week's a playoff week, and I think it's, hey, look, we got to do everything we can in our power. Stay late, extra tape, extra tubs, whatever you need to do to get the win. Man, I think we did it last week. We need to continue that this week.
Tua on what the Texans bring to the table.
They play really well, sound football. They get some depth in the back end, so they try to mitigate a lot of explosives, but you got to have your P's and Q's on point when you're dealing with a rush that they have.
Every Dolphins game down this stretch has some major implications, and we're here to talk about it all. Time for Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans, with Tobin and Solana, Omar and Beasley. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM as we get ready for Dolphins and Texans. Week 15 coming up at 1 o'clock and lots to dive into. Thanks again to Adam Beasley for stopping by the program. Omar Kelly, he will join us at the top of next hour as we get closer to this monster matchup. And let's get to our players to watch, which is always brought to you by our Southern Lexus dealers. The Lexus December to Remember sales event is why you stay on the nice list. Find yours and get offers on select models, but only for a limited time now through January 2nd. Make it a December to remember. Beasley was mentioning this, Solana, but they got a heavy pass rushing duo there on Houston's side of Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, and the Dolphins are going at this with a respectable backup in Kendall Lamb and a rookie in Patrick Ball, who's a moose. He's a giant. He's had a lot of practice time, but still a rookie nonetheless. You nervous at all about this?
Yeah, I think you have to be nervous. And I know Kendall Lamb is respectable, but he's also dealing with an injury. Like his back is just shot up right now. And he was talking about it earlier this week. And, you know, it didn't sound like somebody who's like, oh, I'll be all right. It was like, yeah, I mean, I'm playing.
I'm going to get through it.
So, yeah, I think you have to be worried about it. I know what Bees was saying, and it sounds great. The Dolphins get the ball out quicker than anybody. We know that. It's a fundamental part of their offensive scheme. But if you can't move the football on the ground, which they haven't been able to do, and it's a second half like we saw in Green Bay where Tua is just going to have to put this team on his back and go make plays, how confident are you that Tua is going to have time in the pocket to find his weapons? And if he doesn't, this turns into a check down galore where he's just throwing the ball 5-6 yards to Devon Achane, or he's trying to find Jonnu Smith over the middle of the field. Those things have worked, by the way, but is it going to be enough to go and actually put points on the board if this turns into a game where the Dolphins have to score 27, 30 points like they did a week ago, Tobin?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one, too. I mean, from the Texans standpoint, they lost. They have two of their top three tacklers are not going to be in this game because Aziza Al-Shaair, who, of course, was embroiled in controversy for the hit on Trevor Lawrence. He is suspended for this game. And as Beasley mentioned, Petre is done for the season. So they lose some arsenal there with them. But they are getting Christian Harris back, who was second on their team in tackles last year, their linebacker. So they get some reinforcements, even though they're not in the, even though he hasn't been there all season. He's a guy with a good track record for him. they're just big plays, man. They're second in the league in sacks, 42, only second to the Broncos, who have 47. They're plus 10 in turnover ratio, second in INTs, only to Minnesota. So they're a big play defense. They're a big play defense that can get after teams and really try and mess you up. This was Mike McDaniel earlier in the week on how Tua can negate some of the pass rush with his quick pass ability. Here's Mike.
I think overall in this situation, I think it whatever the talents that Tua has delivering the football, who's to say it's plus or minus the talents of the pass rush. I think overall they're very, very good at pass rushing. Tua is good at getting the ball out, and overall I think it's going to be more of a complexion of the unit or the entire group and how they're all defensively, how are they defending, how are they covering with pass rush, offensively, how we are protecting, but how are we moving down the field, beating reroute, beating man coverage, separating the timing of the play. Those things, I think it's what it's going to come down to. Less individuals, more of a collection of the group.
Very clear plan.
Huh?
To Mike McDaniel and D'Amico Ryans do have a past, obviously, with San Francisco and with the Texans. They have a long-standing relationship, and this was the Houston Texans head coach on what the Texans have to do well against the Finns playmakers.
Yeah, for us, when trying to defend, right, such an efficient offense, it'll be about us just making sure we're on top of our game and just executing properly. And that's, been an emphasis for us this week here. It's just us being on the details of our job, being where we're supposed to be. And we got to do a great job of tackling in space. And that's what the game will come down to, like how well are we tackling in space versus their playmakers. And, we have to get multiple hats to the ball to tackle these guys because they're so elusive and they're so explosive.
Mike got the one win this year against Sean McVay with the old showdown of his old friends, but not a thing that's always gone great for him, Solana. And he's got him on back-to-back weeks with Kyle Shanahan next week. He's got D'Amico this week. He's lost to LaFleur. So, this is another one where the guy kind of knows the basis of what the Dolphins are bringing because, he faced it a lot in practice, obviously, with San Francisco. But, Mike's got his own twist to it. He's got a very skilled QB who could do a lot of different things with the football and can make you look foolish. But, man, it does feel like one of those where, I can't allow the Dolphins can't allow like one bad play. They got to be, first of all, on their toes when it comes to not letting up penalties, because those are always killers, where there's an illegal procedure, there's a holding, and it kills the momentum of drives. And you can't allow that to happen with this team because they'll just make you pay for it too much, man.
Yeah, I think they will. I think this is going to come down to, obviously, can Tua stay upright? Right? I mean, that's a conversation every week, but Houston is 5th in the NFL in yards allowed defensively. So whether or not they have whether or not they have the best defense in the NFL, do they have the best playmakers in the NFL outside of those two guys on the defensive line? Who cares? Like, their defense this year has shown the ability to slow down every offense or most of the offenses that they've played. But since week 8, the Dolphins have probably the best offense in the NFL, or one of the best offenses in the NFL. Like, every stat that you want to look at since week 8, I mean, Miami's in the top 5, top 10, and they're actually the best offense since week 8 in just like percentage rate of getting points. So most of their drives are ending in points. You just want that to continue, Tobin. The question is, like, if they can't run the ball against Houston and Tua doesn't have a lot of time to throw, like, what's it going to look like? How are they going to effectively put themselves in a position where they're going to go and score on most of the drives that they're going to have today? And then what Houston's going to do. Like, they're going to try to run the ball down your throat. But this is a Houston team that has spent a lot of time this year on 3rd and long, like a lot of time. We get frustrated with the Dolphins with those stupid penalties. Your boy Julian Hill with his moose hands, constantly just shooting this team in the foot. But Houston has spent a lot of time there as well. And last year, CJ Stroud was just a monster at picking up these long conversions. That hasn't been the case this year. So the Dolphins, one of the better teams defensively on 3rd and long. They hold teams to below 50% conversion rate, or like 42% conversion rate on third downs. Like, those are the drives that Miami has to win at, right? They're going to have those situations where they have to go get 2 or 3 yards to move the chains. They have to convert it. And defensively, you can't let Houston beat you with the deep ball or the big play or the stupid defensive pass interference that's going to allow them to move the chain. So I know it sounds cliche and it's a stupid, kind of way to look at the game, or maybe not stupid, but not a fun way to look at the game. But which team is going to shoot themselves in the foot less could end up being the team that wins this game.
Well, we got a lot of things to look at with this game and the rest of the AFC playoff picture coming up today, and where it stands for the Dolphins to find their way in. We'll take a break here on Gameday Uncensored. Take a look at that playoff picture coming up next.
WQAM broadcasting live from the Ed Moore Sawgrass
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's game day, uncensored here. Miami Dolphins getting set for the Houston Texans on the road. Did you see Solana? Did you see Anthony Walker, what he did for his teammates for Christmas? Did you see this video that the Dolphins had put out?
I did, yeah. That's pretty cool, man. I did see that.
For those who didn't see it, he got the high school jersey of everybody on the roster. He got their high school jersey made for them, an updated version so they could wear it. And the Dolphins put out this video. It was really cool. Everybody was very pumped up to get their high school jerseys. Some of them are wearing them to the game today. So shout out to the Dolphins linebacker. That was a really great present. Very thoughtful. A thoughtful Secret Santa.
What's Tua gonna get everybody this year? I guess just the quarterback room. Does Skylar Thompson still get a gift, by the way, since he was cut today? Like, how does that work?
I don't know. I think he, he's been there for the most year. It would be kind of lousy if he didn't get a Christmas present. Tim Boyle does not get a Christmas present.
No,
dude, no way. No Christmas present from Tua for old Tim Boyle. Not gonna work, dude. Sorry, not gonna happen.
The best part about Hard Knocks last year, right? Like Marino, and then seeing how excited Tua was for Christmas.
Yep.
I mean, the guy was like, it was adorable. He was wearing the onesie, the Christmas onesie. Like, it was just, you just want to pinch his cheek. Like, oh, you're so cute, Tua.
He loves Christmas. He's loved Christmas forever.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to get excited when it is that time of year. But Solana, we got to look at this plot picture. Speaking of Tua, this is what the Dolphins quarterback had to say about the Dolphins being in the playoff run right now. Here was QB1.
Yeah, it creates mental fortitude, but I think we've had the reps earlier in the season, and we continued to have those reps as the season progressed. Oh, it feels like we're going to win this game. We give up at the end. Oh, it feels like we're going to win this game. We end up giving one at the end or something like that. Then we find a couple wins here. Then we lose again. And just the mental fortitude I think the guys have is it's been in that playoff mode, but I think having those reps have definitely gave guys epiphanies, like aha moments, in which it's like, man, yeah, I felt like because this was a big game that I needed to do more than what my job asked me to do, when really all I need to do is go back to the basics and fundamentals of what we've been doing OTAs, what we've been doing in training camp, because that's what's gotten us here and that's what's helping us win games.
Look, I hope that that's a positive thing. I hope that all these reps of coming up short will help the Dolphins to not, I guess, overplay, this. But I also don't want them losing the gravity of what this is. Like, your season is on the line today, and you really do need everything you can get to get this one and put yourself in any kind of position to make a real playoff run.
Yeah, I think they have to know that, though, right, Tobin?
I mean, hope so.
Who were we listening to earlier? Was it Anthony Weaver who said our playoffs started a while ago? All these games have been playoff games. Our playoffs, started 2 weeks ago or whatever. So, I mean, I think the team understood the expectations coming into the year, right? So they have to look at a game like this, knowing what the rumors are. Tua talked about, killing narratives going into Green Bay. They know. They're all well aware of what the narratives are right now about this team, and that they've been proven to be correct. The narratives I'm speaking of, which is that they're soft and they can't win a big game. So yep. I can't imagine that they're overlooking that either. Just as competitors, just as people who want to go out there and tell people that they don't know what the hell they're talking about. This is the game that if they lose it, then we're all going to have the ability, everybody, to say, "No, there we go, same old Dolphins." Same old Dolphins every single time. So I don't know. You hope that gives them some sort of edge, right? Playing with a chip on your shoulder. You want to go out there and prove people wrong. But time and time again, we've heard the same thing, and it ends up being the same result.
The Dolphins, to make the playoffs from Barry Jackson, need to win out, which is Houston, San Francisco, Cleveland, and the Jets. And they need 2 losses from Denver, 2 losses from the Chargers, or 2 losses from the Ravens, and 1 loss from the Colts. Now, there's a big matchup today. Denver is taking on the Colts, and that's at 4:25 today. And I think, based on the remainder of schedule, I'm rooting for the Broncos today because I feel like take care of the Colts, move them down a little bit more, get ahead of them. You got to finish ahead of them. And then but the Colts remainder of the schedule after that, I mean, really bad. Tennessee, the Giants, and a Jacksonville team that's fallen apart. I mean, Jacksonville is nobody. They've lost Trevor Lawrence. They're starting McCorkle. Evan Ingram just got done for the season. The Colts really, if they win today, they're in a great position. So the Broncos, meanwhile, after this week, Chargers. Okay, it's obviously going to be a huge one at Cincinnati, who's froggy. I mean, they're always froggy, and then at Kansas City. So the Broncos got some work after this week. That's why I'm kind of leaning Colts. I want the Colts to lose today.
So here's what I have schemed up. You need the Colts to lose today. All right. You want the Broncos to win. I don't see a situation where the Chargers are losing 2 more games or the Ravens are losing 2 more games. Tobin, I just feel like it's possible. I just feel like those 2 teams are locks for the playoffs. I just do. All right. So Broncos beat the Colts today. They get the Chargers next week. Like you mentioned, the Bengals and then the Broncos. I need the Bengals to win today. They're at the Tennessee Titans 1 p.m. Titans stink, but the Bengals can't beat anybody, it seems like. But technically, they're still in the playoff hunt, even though their record is garbage. The Bengals have the Titans, the Browns next week at home, then the Broncos, and then the Steelers at home. The Bengals will keep your boy Joe Burrow out there.
Poor sad Joe Burrow, who got robbed, by the way.
Yeah, as long as they continue to be in the hunt, right? Like, they're not going to punt on the season if they're mathematically not eliminated. So as long as the Bengals win today and then they beat the Browns, week 17, Bengals hosting the Broncos, they're going to keep people out there. And then, as much as it pains me, Tobin, we got to root for the Bills today against the Detroit Lions. I know we don't want to. I realize that. However, here's why. The Broncos end their season at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. If the Chiefs have locked up the playoff bye with the 1 seed, there is a very good possibility. I'm not saying for sure, but there's a very good possibility that they'll bench all their starters in that game, right? Which would mean the Broncos would have the upper hand at home against the Chiefs' backups in a game where the Chiefs don't care about.
Right.
If the Bills lose today and the Chiefs win, that's a 2-game separation between Kansas City and Buffalo with only 3 games remaining. You don't like your odds there for the Bills to still be in the chase for the 1 seed at the end of the season. So we're kind of rooting for the Bills to just stay close so that Kansas City has to keep playing Patrick Mahomes in week 18 so that they still have to go out there and fight to have a playoff bye the entire playoffs.
Yeah, because the Bills have the head-to-head, so they need to finish ahead of them.
Correct.
They can't finish tied with them.
Correct. Right.
All right.
So I know it sucks. We don't want to, but I think our best chance at the playoffs, obviously the Dolphins have to win out, but it's the Broncos winning today and then losing to the Bengals, to the Chiefs, or to the Chargers, 2 of those 3 games, which seems very possible. I'm not saying it's probable, but it seems very possible.
We'll take a break. We'll go over who is active, who is inactive for your Miami Dolphins, and hear a little bit from Bradley Chubb, who seems like he's on the doorstep. He's not going to play this week, but he is close. What kind of an impact can he bring? We'll look over who is in, who is out for your Miami Dolphins coming up next.
Text WQAM on the Kendall Toyota text line at 305
Uncensored. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM. FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is game day, uncensored here on 560 WQAM. Brendan Tobin here with you alongside Alejandro Solana. Omar Kelly is going to join us in about 15 minutes. We will talk to the Miami Dolphins columnist from the Miami Herald, who you, of course, hear every single week here alongside Adam Beasley as well. And you can hear him on with Joe Rose during the week from time to time as well. Let us get to our actives and inactives, which are brought to you by JM Lexus. Experience the excitement of the football season with the Miami Dolphins and Miami Hurricanes, and make this December unforgettable with JM Lexus. Don't miss out on the special offers happening now at JM Lexus. All right, Solana, you want to throw up here the inactives? Because it's not great news for the Miami Dolphins.
I mean, I guess so. I guess we have to get to it, right? We kind of have to.
Oh, man. Well, the immediate one you go to there, we knew Teron Armstead was going to be out today. We all had that feeling. Mike McDaniel said as much.
He was doubtful, so
he was doubtful.
It didn't look good.
But you could see right above him there, number 70, Kendall Lamb is out, inactive for the Miami Dolphins. You want to do another Ethan Bonner rant?
No, I'm
no.
good.
Ethan Bonner inactive, Jeff Wilson back to inactive, Jack Stoll inactive, D. Eskridge, and Neil Farrell inactive. But Solana, this basically leaves the Dolphins with 3 tackles on the roster. One guy I've legitimately never heard of. The other one I've only seen on paper, Ryan Hayes, and then some other fella who I'm like, who? Jackson Carman? That doesn't even sound like a real. Who is that?
So
I'm not being a jerk. I'm genuinely like, who is that?
No, I'm with you. Jackson Carman is probably going to start at right tackle today for the Miami Dolphins. Adam Beasley, who joined us earlier, posted on Twitter his bio on the Dolphins website, and there's nothing. Like the Dolphins didn't even bother updating his bio. He has, according to Ryan Smith of Pro Football Focus, who covers the Dolphins, he has 685 career snaps, only 12 snaps since the start of the 2023 season. So 12 snaps in the past 2 seasons. He has never taken a snap at right tackle in the NFL before. And today, he will be protecting Tua Tagovailoa's blind side.
Man. Well, that's great.
He has 6 NFL starts, according to Joe Shad, all of them at guard.
Oof. Well, that's not great. What about Isaiah? Like, could they put Isaiah Wynn in at guard and then make Eichenberg the tackle, or is that is that tempting fate?
That's what I was going to ask you though. Look, we all have our.
That seems crazy, dude. You can't have a guy who's never started. Like, you're going to have him in the huddle.
That's the thing. I mean, we all have our thoughts on Liam Eichenberg, right? But at least Liam has experience playing right tackle. Does he have experience doing it well? No, absolutely not. But he's played tackle for you before. So, Isaiah Wynn, I guess, could play tackle. He's done that before as well. But, what are you getting out of Isaiah Wynn? We heard Bees earlier say that the dude's just standing on the sideline with his 2 hands holding his shoulder pads. I mean, this is not good at all. Bad feeling coming into the day, Tobin. We were talking about it earlier in the hour, where you're like, all right, can Kendall Lamb, who hasn't been great, he's been fine, can he play through a back injury? And you're going to be without Teron. We kind of knew that. Okay, Kendall Lamb at 50% and Patrick Paul. That scared me already. Now we're talking about a situation where Liam Eichenberg is your best opportunity to protect Tua Tagovailoa, that's a real tough situation.
Man, that's crazy.
You think Chris Greer's laughing right now?
Oh, yeah. Has to be. It's hilarious. Why would you say that out loud, Chris Greer? Like it was all like hanging by a thread just because we were all like, Tehran's just saying so healthy. Guy just weird. Like how many times have you seen a guy just, and I'm not calling Teron Armstead soft, but like he's just, I honestly admire it. But it's just like after 5 snaps, he goes, nah, can't do it. Like they just can't hold up anymore, boys.
And I think we all saw the video of him on the sideline. I mean, it looked like a dude who was deflated. Right? It looked like a dude who was kind of thinking to himself, like, I don't know how much more I got left in me, boys.
Crazy, dude.
Yeah,
man. Like, I don't know.
We'll have to see. The Dolphins will be out on the field warming up now. So some of the beat reporters were there. I know Omar's there, but some of the other guys will get a good look at who's taking the snaps in their just like workout at offensive line, and we'll get a better understanding of how it's going to play out today. But no matter which way you shake it, this is a bad situation for the Dolphins. Offensive line has already been a concern, but now you're relying somewhere on the line on somebody who's taken 13 snaps in 2 seasons.
You're legitimately like going into a game against a team. This is their strength, is sacking the quarterback, wreaking havoc, and you're like, would you like to meet our Rubik's Cube bungled up offensive line for you guys to just lick your chop? And like to be fair, I know that the Texans have their own issues on the offensive line. Like they're doing some shifting of their own. I think they're like kicking the right tackle in and putting somebody else out at tackle because they're more worried about the interior. But the Dolphins don't get after the quarterback like the Texans do. Like they just don't. They have Zach Seiler, who's always on a tear, and you never know when he can blow things up. But they don't have 2 double-digit guys on their team like the Texans do.
No, the Dolphins are doing a really good job at stopping the run in terms of through the middle, like those inside zone reads. The Dolphins have done a great job at stopping that. Where they've gotten burned over the past couple weeks, we saw it against the Green Bay Packers, are on those like outside runs, right? Where the Dolphins just haven't been able to really get out on the edges and stop the run game there. But we haven't seen the Dolphins consistently get to the quarterback. There was that game against New England where Chop Robinson kind of had like his coming out party. He got his sack. And Seiler's done a good job at applying pressure. Calais has done a good job, but they're not a good team at getting after the quarterback. They're just not, which is why they're bottom of the NFL in sacks this season. But Tobin, this is a consequence of Chris Greer relying on guys who have injury concerns.
Yep.
And we love Teron Armstead. We knew the deal over the past couple seasons with him. But usually the games he was missing were like week 7, week 12, not must-win games going into week 15. He was typically available for those games. So, I mean, this is a consequence. Forget his mocking of media questioning the offensive line. Forget that. I'm talking about the way he built this team. A lot of positions and a lot of players who were signed to this team, big money, had injury concerns prior to getting those contracts. Bradley Chubb was one of them. Teron Armstead, obviously, the best example. And this is a serious consequence of that. Relying on guys to stay healthy, as good as they may be, in a game where you have to win, they're not available. And who did you go after to replace them? Who did you go after to add depth to those positions? And, well, we know offensive line, that's been a cloud kind of hanging over this team. And here we are. Must-win game, toughest opponent you'll face down the final 4 weeks of the season, and 2 or 3 of your offensive tackles are unavailable.
Awesome. Laugh it up, Chris Greer. I hope you have a good chuckle today. Laugh it. I hope it's so funny Hilarious. Some guy with 2 first names I've never heard of is here. He's got to protect to his blind side. Great. Awesome job, dude.
Crazy.
Laugh it up.
I mean, what's the most important thing with Tua Tagovailoa? Keeping him upright. Keeping him upright. Keeping him healthy. And this is what you're doing?
This guy just signs people. He's like medical reports, schmedical reports. Whatever. You got talent. That's great. Do his ligaments work? Nah. Who are these people that have to, like, this is what they're going into today's game with? Not even a game to like get warm. It's like, all right, Dolphins, good luck. You're on the road. I know this is like the best pass rush you'll face all year, but you know, Jackson Carman's got you. All right, we'll take a break. Adam Beasley. Omar Kelly. I'm shook, man. Omar Kelly from the Miami Herald. He will discuss what the Dolphins are staring at going into this game. Omar will join us from Houston coming up next.
It's time for the 13th annual Channing Crowder Toy Drive. Join Hawk and Crowder for a 7473.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
It's another Game Day Uncensored.
The Dolphins face the AFC South leading Houston Texans today in good old Texas. As always, lots on the line for the Fins. A victory today means the Dolphins are at 500 and still alive to make the postseason. It was a thrilling win for the Dolphins last week over the Jets, but Jalen Waddle says, well, it's time to move on.
It means a lot, It was a hard-fought game. It was a game that we really needed to win. And, it just showed what this team could do. It definitely gave us a lot of confidence, but it's a whole nother team, another game plan. So we're just going about it like any other week.
The Dolphins had joint practices with the Texans. Tua was asked if that's helpful at this point in the season.
Yeah, you can take a good amount. That's their defense structurally. They do things different, with their fronts and their backers. But you can definitely take what they've done in our joint practices and try to implement that, into some of the plays that we have.
Well, in just a few hours, we'll see if the Dolphins can get another thrilling victory. Let's talk about what they need to do to win. It's Game Day Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans with Tobin, Solana, Omar, and Beasley. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9, HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM. Brendan Tobin here with you alongside Alejandro Solana. Gameday producing for us today as we are getting ready for Week 15 against the Houston Texans. Gameday post-game, 4:30 today, Dan. That is when people can react to this game with you. Is that correct?
That is correct. 4:30, 7:30.
There you go. So that is the place to be. You guys can, of course, watch us on YouTube and Twitch. Miami 560 WQAM is the handle. And listen to us on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Free in your app store. Now is the time of the program where we check in with Miami Dolphins columnist from the Miami Herald, the great Omar Kelly, joining the program. Hello, Omar.
Hi, gentlemen. Anybody have a tackle that the Dolphins can use?
Who is this guy who's playing today? I am very scared.
It's not even relevant who he is. It's,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. He's been here like 3 weeks. Like he's been elevated from the practice squad. You know what's funny? We discovered Kendall Lamb like that a couple years ago. I believe back in the 2021 season, and he was a keeper. So, let's just all hope and wish for the best. Cross our fingers.
Hope, that does not make me feel good, man.
What does that mean, Omar? Like, what's the best case scenario here?
The best case scenario is Tua gets the ball out of his hands really fast in the run game. The one that's been averaging about 62 yards per game for the last 5 weeks. That finally gets going. Let's all hope for and wish for the best. This is, what's sad, and you guys know me. You know my obsession with the trenches. You know my obsession with the offensive line, and every year we get to this point. We could pretend like the O-line's fine. It's fine. It's good. It's it's not a panic state. Then we get to December, where people start kicking your face in because your O-line is back to its 8th or 9th guy because you've had some injuries and it's all watered down, and you draft like trash when it comes to offensive linemen, and then you lose these games because you lose trench play, and then you sit there and you say, oh well, you guys are obsessed about the offensive line and we find that funny. Yeah, well, here we go, deja vu Dolphins, folks.
I don't understand why he would even say something like that out loud. Like, I don't even you can maybe think it because you want to be arrogant, but to say something like that and don't think it's going to bite you in the butt. God, that's annoying. Is there any shot, Omar? Like, do they this Carmen fella? If they don't have faith, like, is there any chance they're going to do like some shuffling? Like, could they kick somebody out and put somebody in? Like, is there any options to do that?
The Isaiah Wynn probably would be your last break. You know, there's Ryan Hayes, who's been so bad. He was a draft pick that got cut his rookie year. He's 7th round pick. You know, bounced around the NFL. He got elevated up from the practice squad. But you know, if I'm trying to save my season, which you know the Dolphins should be trying to do, considering this game is kind of a elimination game. You know, basically the rest of the season is meaningless. You lose this one today. I try to break the Isaiah Wynn break in case of emergency. He began his career as a tackle primarily on the left side. I really don't know what you do, to be honest with you. It's kind of if you woke up in the morning and, you know, with the exception of Tua not being healthy or Tua, you know, slipping in the shower like Larry Tunsil did, this could probably be your worst case scenario for you. Now, fortunately for the Dolphins, they've kind of saw this coming all week. I loved when Kendall Lamb said basically, yeah, I'm just going to get my back shot up game day, see how it goes. So you knew something like this could potentially happen. So, you know, but the benefit of it is for a guy like Carson Jackson, whatever his name is, I can't even tell you his name. I can't remember. You know, this is his great opportunity to show that, hey, he's an NFL player. And, you know, Kendall Lamb did it 2 years ago, and look where he is now.
Yeah, Omar, the issue is, look, if it was just, okay, Austin Jackson's out, Kendall Lamb can't go, but Tehran's on the left side, and you're going with Jackson Carman, I would say, okay, fine, right? Like, fine. But you're relying on Patrick Paul. I think we've all, you know, we've liked the small sample size from Patrick Paul, I think, and there's certainly
it's been okay.
Right. I think there's certainly room for growth from a guy who we kind of knew was a project coming in. But, I mean, to be without your 3 best tackles in a must-win game for the Miami Dolphins, I mean, I know you mentioned Isaiah Wynn, but he hasn't played tackle since he's been in Miami the last 2 years, and really hasn't played football this year either. Like, is it worth considering Liam Eichenberg, just moving him out there to at least
Liam Stroke, my God, sir. Liam can barely do his job now as it is. You want to give him a harder job?
But no,
is that really what you want to do, Solana?
I'm with you, Omar. I'm not happy about it, but is Liam Eichenberg
barely do his job? You know what? Actually, you know what? I apologize to you, Solana. I apologize because I think you might be right. I honestly think you might be right because maybe Isaiah Wynn at right guard, and then Liam, as horrible as he is, at right tackle is a better option than a practice squad guy at right tackle. I don't know what you do because this is such a you're screwed situation.
Omar, I'm not advocating for Liam Eichenberg. I'm just saying he's played football this year.
Yeah.
Jackson Carman has taken 13 snaps in 2 seasons and has never taken a snap at right tackle. At the very least, Liam has. So again, I'm not advocating for him.
I told you I apologize. You are 100% right. Of crappy boo-boo situations and scenarios and contingency plans, if I am a coach and I'm thinking out a way to problem solve this crisis against the second best pass rushing team in the NFL, a team that has 42 sacks, and I'm in a panic state and I'm searching for emergency fixes, dear God, Liam is my emergency fix. Which makes me feel so wonderful about, the prospects of this must-win game.
If he pulled it off.
Which everybody's going to expect Tua to put an absolute cape on and play captain save a team.
That's right.
And then when he doesn't, they're going to say, man, we're wasting our time with this bust of a quarterback because he's not a franchise player. He doesn't have a cape and can't save a team.
If I could put stakes on Liam Eichenberg, if he could pull this off, I won't say anything bad about him for a year.
I will join you in that. If Liam Eichenberg can manage to pull this off, I haven't talked to Liam Eichenberg for an entire season. Not one word, not a passing conversation. Because you know what? He's just playing to the point where it's not an embarrassment, and I don't want to jinx him.
It's a good job by you because, I just don't, whatever. Listen, he's found his niche.
I'm just ignoring him like he isn't there.
He's become like the Patrick Beverly of the NFL. At least he gets people bothered and gets a penalty on somebody every week. But there's that. But that's that. Omar, you did give me the goosies. I liked your Zach Seiler column this week. I love Zach Seiler. He's one of my favorite guys on the team. From his standpoint this year, what's been the thing that's impressed you the most about Zach Seiler's season?
This is a guy that lived in a trailer for his first 2 years in the NFL just because he lived his life fearing he'd get cut again. Just think about that. He's a franchise Pro Bowl caliber player, and I really want that to happen for him just because I know how he is. I have so many memories of Zach. I remember the day he was basically holding out all of off-season program for a new contract. But then you know what? When training camp rolled around, he's like, I'm getting to work. And then Christian starts holding out, and he suffers a knee injury in practice. We all thought it was bad. Literally, his teammates are going up to him do not return to practice. What the hell are you doing? And he's literally trying to force his way back into practice. That's the kind of guy that he is when he's fighting for a contract. Now, I think he got the contract the next day. And, I'm pretty sure, they basically were just let's take the money. And honestly, he's probably one of the most underpaid players in the NFL right now, which is why I'd probably be trying to shake the Dolphins down for a new contract next offseason. And when you consider how well he's played, name me 3 better players on the Miami Dolphins than Zach Seiler. You got Jalen Ramsey, Tyreek, Tua, and that's about it.
And outside of Tua, when he's been there, I don't think anybody's been more consistent than Zach Seiler, to your point. Omar, looking at the quarterback room, did the Dolphins make the right decision cutting Skylar Thompson and just sticking with Tyler Huntley now that he's available and healthy to be their backup quarterback?
I don't care.
Great answer.
If we play, I like Tyler. I like Skylar. I want him to be back on the practice squad. I want him here. But there's only so many opportunities you can get to show a team that what they invested in you wasn't a waste, and it just hasn't happened for him. I'm very adamant that this team doesn't need to draft a young quarterback. And here's the reason why they don't need to draft a young quarterback, because that quarterback with Tua Tagovailoa as your starter will never get enough snaps. Tua is a high volume practice snap player so that he can operate on the level that he does. He's in the Peyton Manning-esque. He will take up 85% of your practice snaps. So whoever is behind him, you're not going to get any practice snaps. So you're generally not going to get any better on a daily basis. So you have to be a veteran quarterback. With that said, so I'm fine and add a veteran backup, Joshua Dobbs, Jameis Winston, though he's not necessarily fitting for the scheme and system, and Andy Dalton. That's what you have to add this offseason. So Skylar will generally just be a camp body if he's here. I doubt anybody's going to claim him. I wish him the best. I hope he's back here on the practice squad and signs a futures contract just to continue to show people what he is and grow. But, yet when you had your opportunities, you didn't make it happen. And that's what the NFL is about. I could tell you the careers of Zach Seiler, when the team needed him against Cincinnati in his second NFL season, 2 weeks after he got claimed, he got the start and he delivered a sack and a win. That's what the NFL is about. When your opportunity is presented to you, you shine. And if you can't shine and you don't shine, opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, time to move on.
You think there's any shot the Dolphins can go back to leaning on Mostert at all to get this run game going? Because man, it stinks. I don't know what the hell happened to them. But what is there any? I'm probably not the best with the line situation being what it is. But do you think is there anything that can infuse life into this?
You're provoking me right now because you know I've been a big Mostert guy all year, and I've been looking stupid. I'm not confident that he's healthy,
Yeah.
and this is yes, he's active. In a dream scenario, he would be the Mostert that he was last year, but we just haven't had that scenario. Maybe we had it against the Patriots and then Buffalo in the first half until he fumbled the ball. I would love to tell you that Raheem Mostert is going to come to this team's rescue today because they absolutely need him today. But I'm not very confident in that, just from the standpoint. A hip injury, I've never seen a player running back with have a hip injury, and then because hips are what helps you shift and change directions and make slight lateral cuts, and I've just never seen it work. And unfortunately, the one thing that we know is undefeated in the NFL, in all of professional sports, with the exception of LeBron James, is Father Time.
Omar, you said best case scenario to start this interview. How do the Dolphins win this game then? Other than best case scenario out of the offensive line, which is it's not a total disaster. How do the Dolphins, in your mind, win this football game? Is it just as simple as stop Joe Mixon and the Texans' run game? Don't let them beat you deep, and then just hope that Tua can hit Tyreek or Waddle, and they can be great after the catch. Is that it?
Yeah, this Texans defense has allowed, I believe, the most big plays in the NFL. So they've got communication issues. They've lost Petrie, their starting nickel cornerback. So the hope is that somehow Neville Hewitt is out there starting at linebacker. No disrespect to Neville Hewitt, I like him, but we know he's not a coverage guy. So the hope is that if you can protect Tua can make something happen. But the whole prerequisite of that is you got to be able to protect Tua. Does anybody in the world right now have confidence that they can protect Tua? I know I certainly don't.
Not feeling great, man.
They have 42 sacks on the season. I'm sorry to be a downer, but you guys know who I am. I'm a realist. I'm like, I saw. Yeah, I would feel way more. I knew Teron wasn't going to play. I don't even know if Teron, I think, has played his last snap for the Miami Dolphins. And I wrote that last week, and I love Teron, and hopefully they try to bring him back in some veteran mentor leadership role. But I mean, come on, how many years are we going to do this? Like, yeah, and he's phenomenal when he's healthy, but we all know the deal. We all know the reality of Teron's situation, and he's probably bone on bone right now. He probably needs off-season surgery. Like, how you are great when you're healthy, but we can't count on you to be healthy anymore. So are we going to do this for another season? No, because that's why we drafted Patrick Paul. This is a great opportunity for him to play the final month of the season. You'll be able to see what you have at left tackle and see whether or not it's a position that you have to address in this draft, in the draft and free agency or whatnot. Otherwise, you're wasting your time, especially if the team loses today and they're out of playoff contention. So in a dream world, dream scenario, some offensive lineman comes to this team's rescue and is able to protect Tua against one of the most vicious pass rushing teams in the NFL. Unfortunately, we this is December on the Dolphins schedule. You know what time it is.
Yeah, he's all too right about that. Omar.
Time.
And I mean, enjoy the Texas.
Guy.
It's okay. It's okay. Go follow his work. Omar Kelly from the Miami Herald. Thanks for the time, man.
I guess.
There you go. We'll take a break. See how this affects our Porpoise Props coming up next.
Football coverage
Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and see how you're backed by Morse when it comes to returning your lease. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM. Miami Dolphins getting set for the Houston Texans. If you guys are just tuning in, the Dolphins are going to be without Teron Armstead today. We kind of knew that was going to be the case, but they are also going to be without their starting right tackle, Kendall Lamb, and that's not great.
Well, their backup right tackle.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it just makes it all that much more worse. Like, your starting right tackle is already on IR, and then the guy you've been relying on to either be the backup for the left or the right side of the line is also out, and you're missing probably the best offensive lineman the Dolphins have had in 5 years, Tobin, and Teron Armstead.
Yep. And like, that's the thing that frustrated me the most about the whole laughing comment, because, there was this whole point in the year where everybody was like, hey, you see, he was right. It's like, no, he's on borrowed time right now because Teron Armstead has been unbelievably durable, but you knew that this was going to probably happen because, I don't know, it's happened every point of his career for the last 5 years. Like, he was going to miss 4 to 5 games. It's just going to happen. So...
Tobin, remember going into what was the game on? Was it against the Patriots the Sunday prior to Thanksgiving? Was that the Patriots or the Raiders? The Raiders, I think. Mm-hmm. And remember, Teron had already been dealing with a knee injury, and I had mentioned to you, hey, does it make more sense against a Raiders team that you should probably be at home anyways? Let Teron rest this Sunday so that he's not on short rest going into that game. Thanksgiving Day in a much more important game. Mm-hmm. And we kind of just talked about the idea of, like, at what point is this knee injury going to catch up to Teron Armstead, aside from, I'm sure, like, the myriad of injuries he's dealing with just going through the course of an NFL season. And here it is, like, it caught up to him, just in general at this point where worst timing, it caught up to him. And we knew at some point it would.
And the thing that's frustrating about it too is this is like happened not just Teron. Like, it feels like at the point, like, the Dolphins, and this is crazy for a team that's really not that. I don't know if this is because they have to get out in space more or what, or these are just non-durable guys. But it feels like not just a Teron problem. Like, I know that Eichenberg's playing with the harness, that Rob Jones has been banged up. We know about Austin Jackson being out. Kendall Lamb was dealing with it. Like, you have sometimes, some of these great teams that, these offensive linemen don't miss a damn snap, and they're playing physical and mauling guys. So it's just something that has to be completely revamped next year. I don't know, I'm sure that, from my standpoint, like, Brewer, Patrick Paul, I guess Austin Jackson's going to come back, but, like, they need to figure out who they can really rely upon to put on that line and actually feel like they can get through a season with them.
Yeah. But I mean, that's like, my biggest criticism with this front office is that the most important part of this team needs to be the 5 fat guys up front to protect Tua. I mean, you have a quarterback, forget the concussions for a second, who's had injury problems throughout his career in Miami. And there's been a lack of resources committed to putting the right guys up front or to building the right line up front. And when we're talking about next year, I mean, who knows what happens here, but when we're talking about next year, Tobin, think about all the guys that are going to need money, right? Think about all the guys you have to pay throughout your entire roster. I mean, if you're not building or committing resources in the draft for an offensive line and you're revamping that offensive line outside of Patrick Paul and I guess Aaron Brewer, who has been solid this year, like, that means if you're revamping it for a quote unquote win now situation, you're overpaying for linemen in free agency. And I don't believe that's the best way to do it when there's so many other position groups that are going to need to be tailored to as well. So, I mean, it's just like this revolving offensive line situation 20 years now, and we've had 2 seasons where the offensive line isn't a topic of discussion. And it's just frustrating as hell, man. Like, when is that going to end?
It ends now. Porpoise Props time. Let's get to it. Porpoise Props.
It's time for
I don't know about you, but that looked like money.
Porpoise Props.
Hopefully you didn't jinx us.
Porpoise Props, sponsored by Hard Rock Bet. Hard Rock, roll with us. All right, Solana. Off the bat, I just want to say how frustrated I am about something because I don't understand something, which is this is the first time I can recall in a long time that Julian Hill's numbers hit under 1,000 for anytime touchdown. And I'm just losing the purpose of the whole point of this is I want to bet on him when it's crazy valuable to do so. And now that you're starting to get into the 3 digits, it's really annoying me. Why are people betting on him?
Plus 900. Well, you're to blame. I mean, that's why. You're to blame. But it's just, isn't it just like a numbers game, Tobin? Like at some point, he'll catch a touchdown. There's 4 games remaining in the season. At some point, he hasn't done so yet. A tight end who's starting for the Dolphins at some point has to catch a touchdown.
I don't know. Well, they have one, and his name is Jonnu Smith.
Well, Jonnu Smith, right? But he's a wide receiver. Come on.
Kind of, yeah. River Craycraft. He's plus 2,000. That one's kind of speaking to me.
Let's go.
That was the OG. All right. Conejo Blanco. Let's go. I want him. That one's kind of looking tasty to me. I may divert off of Julian Hill and go back to River Craycraft.
Why don't you jump on the Durham Smythe train?
I don't know. Just not sexy enough for me. They're not going to go to Durham Smythe. Let's be real about it. Has he even looked at Durham Smythe in the end zone one time this year?
Not one time.
I don't even think so. I got to be honest with you. The one that kind of that's become my new thing that I'm looking at is can we get a game where Jonnu Smith gets 2 touchdowns at plus 1,500? That's become one that's interested me. What about Jalen Waddle at plus 1,100 for 2 touchdowns? Is that too much because he doesn't score touchdowns? Because he is in his hometown.
I mean, we could do this if you want, but I just like Jalen Waddle is going to score 2 touchdowns. How many touchdowns are the Dolphins scoring today?
Well, now I don't feel so good about that.
Well, that's the thing. No joke. And Tobin, the line is still Texans minus 2.5.
I thought that would have changed.
That's crazy to me. And look, I'm not saying the Dolphins can't win this game. Who knows, man? Like crazier things have happened, and maybe this offensive line looks a lot better than we expect, and we're all just kind of panicking for no reason. Like maybe, right? But you're telling me a team is missing their 3 starting tackles, and they're potentially going to start a guy who has never played tackle before in the NFL to protect the quarterback's blind side against the best pass rush in the NFL, and the line didn't change at all. It was minus 2.5 when we started the show. It's been minus 2.5 since last night as well, and it didn't change at all. Like I am shocked at that. Super shocked.
What about Tua? Tua's been kind of balling. He's been on a hot streak. With this concern of the offensive line, would you bet anything on his passing numbers? For him to go over 300 is plus 170 right now. 325 is plus 300.
That moved a little, by the way. It was 270.5 on Thursday.
Was it?
Yeah. So people obviously hammering the over. Yeah. I mean, it depends how you look at this game. Is this going to be a game where the Dolphins are going to be down and Tua just has to sling the ball, right? Then yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't just take a flyer on Tua going over 271 yards. I mean, the dude's been balling, but he hasn't exactly been throwing for 350 on a consistent basis.
I do like, and I might throw into like some parlay together. I do like you can get some numbers on plus for Zach Seiler over a half sack is at plus 130. Chop Robinson over a sack is plus 190. I feel like with their offensive line issues, I do feel like these guys can get to Stroud a little bit today.
Yeah.
I do think this is going to be an interesting case. Like, I know we have a doom and gloom scenario, rightfully so, with where things are at. But I may throw a little something on Seiler on up and Chop Robinson today. The real chopper of wood.
Yeah, and not that we want to think about it, but Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson, their sack totals are at a half as well. I mean, you have to bet a little bit more. Minus 120 for Hunter and minus 115 for Will Anderson. But, I mean,
if like anybody on the Dolphins today to get a pick, you can get some pretty good juice on it.
I've been waiting for that though. I've been waiting for the defense to come up and make like some big play.
They need to today. Like it feels like they're going to need that to happen today. Ramsey Snowman dropped one last week from Aaron Rodgers. Should have had one.
Yeah, but he's playing
Maybe
with a club on his hand, dude. Like,
that's true.
Yeah.
I may throw a little something on some defense today. I don't feel so great about the offense.
Is Poyer even listed?
He is.
Interception?
He crazily is. He's plus 650, which is a lower number than Javon Holland, who's plus 750.
Well, Javon, yeah, but Javon has one hand available. So,
dude, he should have caught that with one finger last week. From Aaron Rodgers threw a lollipop to him last week, and he just you could tell it really got to him. All right, we'll take a break. That is Porpoise Props. We'll predict some game balls and wrap things up on the other side.
Ryan Radke here from Sunday Night Football.
.9 HD2 and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Gameday Uncensored is sponsored by Southern Lexus Dealers. Find your summer getaway at the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Get offers on select models through September 3rd. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Edmore's has your back. Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassCadillac.com. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here, brought to you in part by your South Florida Chevy dealers. You're looking for more power, capability, and technology with Chevy trucks. You're ready for anything. Chevrolet, together, let's drive. All right, Solana, it's that part of the show. We got about 5 minutes left before we got to get out of here. Predict the game ball for me, man. Where do you think it goes? Should the Miami Dolphins get a win today? I got to tell you, man, I was feeling so good coming into today's show. I was genuine about that. I woke up this morning. I felt confident. Now, all of a sudden, the Dolphins lose their right tackle, and I'm like, because you knew that was going to be probably already the toughest matchup, a rookie and a backup right tackle. Now you're on a third-string right tackle who has 4 games to his name. So, I don't know how to feel right now, but I genuinely want to let everybody know. I came into this game confident. I'm a little shook on it right now. I'm still hopeful they could find a way to do it, but, you predict your game ball, Solana. Where's it go?
Yeah, and I was too, Tobin. I was being genuine. I said it all week on Hawk and Crowder, like 2 in a dome, 1 p.m. against a Texans team that I really don't think are an elite team. Like, I feel good. I genuinely did. I don't know. I genuinely, like, Joe Mixon.
Oh, no.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be Tua. If the Dolphins win this game, you have to credit Tua Tagovailoa. And I think that's who it would be. Tua for staying upright, extending plays, and just making bleep happen. So if the Dolphins win and they're handing out a game ball, I'm going to go with Uno.
Wow. All right. Going with Uno to get it done there today. Oh, man.
You don't agree? Like, what other – they can't run the football. And
No,
maybe
they
they
can't.
do today, but nothing has shown me that they will.
You know what I'm feeling, dude? I saw that return last week, and you know who I feel like could change this game?
Oh, stop it, man. What are you doing?
Malik Washington. I'm telling you, dude, he had that moment. He's learned from the Thanksgiving shutdown, the Thanksgiving blunder where he ruined Thanksgiving for all Doll fans. He comes back. He has that monster return that sets up the game time drive. Smells like a special teams touchdown to me, dude. Smells like a special teams touchdown could be on order for the Miami Dolphins to swing momentum one way or the other. I'm going with Malik Washington to get a game ball today. Why are you shaking your head at me?
We're doomed.
Well, I'm not going to go Tua also. I mean, that's no fun.
No, I know. I mean,
You don't think he can come up with a big time return?
I hope so. If anybody feels that way, by the way, Dolphins to get a defense or special teams touchdown is at plus 700 on the Hard Rock Bet app right now. It's just perusing a bit more after Porpoise Props. So if anybody feels that way and you're gonna ride with Tobes, then maybe it's worth taking a flyer on.
You would admit that was a really good return last week.
Oh no, it was great. It was if he doesn't get that return, the Dolphins lose that game. It was a great return, Tobin, but doesn't make me believe that the Dolphins, who have been, I mean, just mediocre at best, probably well below average this season in special teams, are now on the brink of a game-changing, kick return touchdown. Like Malik Washington literally lost us a game 2 weeks ago.
He did.
Or 3 weeks ago. So, no, I'm not there yet. I'm not there. I'm not saying he can't make a play.
It's how you bounce back
against the Rams.
It's how you bounce back in adversity, dude.
All right.
That's how it is.
Fall 7 times, stand up 8. I see you, Dwayne Wade.
Exactly, dude. Man, this is it, man. This is the season coming up here in just a matter of 10 minutes. By the way, Dan Day will have your post game coverage here today with Game Day Uncensored post game edition. 4:30, Dan Day. You will be ready to prepare the calls because look, man, if they lose, this is going to be a dicey one for you today.
I just feel like right now it's the point when you get on a roller coaster and you're all strapped in and it's about to take off. I feel like I'm about to go on a ride and I don't know how it's going to come out on the other end.
Listen, I felt that my wife sent me a video yesterday of my daughter at a carnival ride that goes up high and does the drops. I'm like, why would you let her on that? You can't trust those carnival rides. They're just putting them up a day in a day's notice.
And those carnies don't care about anything.
Oh no, they don't. They don't. The carnies. They're not trustworthy. All right, everybody. That is Game Day Uncensored. Fins, get this done. I don't know, some way, shape, or form with your mystery right tackle. Get this done.
If they do, Tobin, we're going to feel good.
We are. It'll
good.
show guts.
Yeah.
It'll show guts. It'll show guts. But until then, we gotta buckle up, like Dan Day says. We're waiting for the drive for the dip right here on the roller coaster. We'll see what this team has to bring to the table. We'll talk to you guys next time.
And that's a final. Another Game Day Uncensored has come and gone. It's kickoff time. Dolphins, Texans. We've talked about what this game means for the Fins. And now it's time for a win. We'll be here after the game to talk about it. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
WQAM.